Alright. Are we set? Alright, good morning, we are back. It is 10:01 and we're going to begin our Housing Authority Board interviews. Let's start with the one on top. Let's see if I can get my fingers to work. Alright, Mr. Johnson. Do we have Mr. Johnson?
Yes, Dr. Johnson, how are you?
Hi, Dr. Johnson. I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. I apologize, I had to step out one meeting to another, so please forgive me.
We kind of know what that's like. It's good. You're fine. You're fine. All right, so we are going to be asking you a few questions. We've got 7 total questions. The commissioners will take their turns asking questions. Like Commissioner Netherland says, there is no right or wrong answer. Just answer to the best of your ability. And we're going to start with Commissioner Tarswell, if you'll take 1. Commissioner Netherland 2. I'll take 3, and then we'll just keep going like that.
All right. So first question, what do you see as the function of the Housing Authority Advisory Board?
Well, I think that's based on a number of factors, and the function would be who the stakeholders are. You know, the communities you serve and the partners. And so that really helps to determine, you know, what the function is. It's not to the one particular, as I say, one particular party. It's not only the communities, it's the business owners, it's the residents of the area, it's the government. So the sensitivities, the direction of the housing authority is really based on the partners and stakeholders, from my perspective, that is.
So why do you want to sit on this advisory board?
Because I do this, I have done this, still do it at the federal level. I've done it internationally. I've done housing issues in the Baltic states. I've worked with one of the Asian governments, Taiwanese government on housing issues. So this is something that I really enjoy doing. In terms of having a unique answer, sometimes thinking out the box, non-traditional ways of seeing things. So it's just one of the things that, you know, our course area, there's a lot of housing needs. So I just like working with, you know, various, you know, partners to address housing issues, concerns, or whatever they are. And again, I do this, of course I'm not representing federal government, but I do work for HUD in a capacity in this area as well.
All right, great. So the board typically meets 2:30 on the 3rd Wednesday of each month. Will this be an issue?
Oh, not at all.
Okay, well, I think you've touched on this, but what's your what's your background and experience with affordable housing?
Well, it's pretty extensive. I'll just go back to the last 5 years if I may. I'm doing, so the position that I have now, I just transferred up to this region, which is 10. I was in the Midwest, covered 5 states. I worked with the mayor's office, the governor's office, FIPS, FAPS, sometimes congressional branches to address the housing needs. That could be the consolidation plans, which I'm sure you're familiar with. It could be the monitoring. It could be the performance reviews of the states. It also entails writing the checks for the partners. So before that, well, I still do that now. Do it since 2020, 23, 24. The block in government asked for the state partners and experts. So I spent a year as a Fulbright scholar dealing with housing issues in Latvia. And also, I tend to do a lot of education, have to do a lot of education in terms of assessing housing issues and things of that nature. So it's pretty vast, and I don't want anyone to sleep because you look energetic coming back from the break. So it's what I do is what I enjoy.
So can you please describe your familiarity and understanding of the rules and laws governing the Housing Authority? Example is RCW 35.82.
Um, that particular statute, which is I assume Washington State, is that correct? Today is my first day officially working for Region 10. So if I'm not up to speed on the local ordinances, that would be hard for me to do. I should also say that I'm not only a housing expert, and you probably heard me address myself as doctor, but I'm a lawyer as well. So that's no issue that happened to the Lexus machine, or to go to the local or the law library here in the area. So that's no problem to get up to speed.
All right, do you have any conflicts of interest that might arise by serving on this advisory board?
No, it's an advisory board. And none of the stakeholders are there. I did take it through the ethics department about 2 months ago. There were no issues.
All right, thank you.
And lastly, do you have any questions for us?
No, I met with one of your colleagues. I was very impressed, and she gave me a realistic overview, and I like getting my hands dirty. So no, you're on the ground floor. You're addressing a lot of the housing issues, concerns, and needs. Yeah. No, not at all. I was concerned you were going to ask me a question what the meaning of life was, which I didn't have an answer, but you spared me that, so I'm most grateful.
Well, if you can figure that one out, we definitely want the answer for that. All right, well, that takes us to the end of the questions for you. If you do have any questions, let us know. We've got one more applicant, and we'll probably make a decision and then let you know.
Okay, thank you very much for the time, and again, my apologies for having that out in the car. The federal building doesn't get great reception.
No, they don't, do they?
No.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
All right,
thank you,
thank you
Dr.
very much.
Johnson. All right, our next one. You want to come up to the table?
Absolutely. Take one of these comfortable chairs.
Yes. Yeah, a little bit more comfortable than those hard ones, right? All right, so you kind of heard our spiel in the beginning.
That's the same test?
Same test.
Exact
Same
same test.
Same
test,
test.
There you
yeah,
go.
yeah. All right,
Does it feel like cheating?
Yeah.
right.
There have, over the years, there have been a few that I felt were cheating by them being in the room during the interviews.
Right,
But we're pretty simple these days.
right.
Typically, pretty simple. All right, let's go ahead, same.
Okay,
pattern.
question one, you heard it, yeah, I'm sure you memorized
Go
it,
for
right?
it.
What do you see is the function of the Housing Authority Advisory Board?
Okay, so you'll see a stark contrast between myself and Dr. Johnson. I don't come at from this from a, in fact, I'll probably answer several of the questions anyway, but I come at this from a different perspective. The angle that I'm coming from, quite frankly, is I've been watching for the last 4 years in Mason County the challenge of coming up with affordable housing and the limited inventory. And I bring a construction engineering background topic. We have a supply issue here in the county, and my interest in serving on the board is really to provide an avenue for providing some free engineering services, free engineering perspective in the expansion and increase of the inventory of housing in the county, and eliminate some of the, and consequently eliminate some of the overhead expenses which relates to the affordable housing piece. My background, well, actually, kind of more to the point. So I see a board intentionally being multiple individuals being on a board. They shouldn't all be the same coat of, cut from the same cloth, so to say, to provide some diversity. And so my experience background is the engineering construction side, and bringing that asset from a character perspective. I have a very strong perspective on transparency and accountability to the public. It would be a volunteer position as a servant to the public, and as a servant ultimately to you, well, ultimately to the public, but to you, the three of you as commissioners, to be providing a solution for housing within this county. I guess, the fiscal responsibility aspect of making sure that we maintain a environment that's both legal and compliant with the requirements and serving the ultimate objective of providing the housing at the lowest price possible for the county. So I think that's the underlying piece.
I think you just answered this, but we'll ask it anyway. Why
Right.
do you want to sit on the advisory board?
Right. So I've had 2 careers, and I'm in that moonlight aspect of my of my life, where I'm in the give back to society. So I'm looking for volunteer opportunities to take the experiences that I've had and to apply it to the community. Really, it's a desire to serve and to give back, as opposed to any kind of aspirations of, is this a stepping stone for some other position in the future? That's not the objective at all. It's really to give back to community and take care of a need out there, preventing people from going homeless, for example, as I look at the neighbors. So, okay.
All right, so the board typically meets 2:30 on the third Wednesday of each month. Will that be an issue?
Okay. There's only one meeting that isn't phone, because I still teach physics and calculus at a local high school and part-time. And so there's one meeting in particular where I would not be able to make that meeting. But I'm finishing up that obligation in June of this year, and have nothing that will prevent that obligation for the future after that. So.
Okay. Pretty much covered this one too, but what's your background and experience with affordable housing?
Okay, so directly the aspect is in, I'll say, the construction side of housing and what drives costs of housing up. You know, what kind of aspects increase the cost. So the background is more of construction and site development kind of perspective, and a understanding of what can increase the cost of housing and in ways to reduce the costs. Been doing quite a bit of homework here, trying to, as I jump into this position, trying to understand well, not trying, but just to get a better perspective on what a housing authority performs, because there are obviously the administrative and management functions of a housing authority, and it's not just the construction aspect where I bring the strength. And there's a pretty steep learning curve, I'll say, with that aspect. So when you start quoting, like one of the questions about whether a federal or a Washington State code, right? I can read, I can study, and I can inquire and ask questions about that. There is some training dealing with state-specific Washington requirements on accountability funding that understand. Need to complete that training to make sure I have a understanding of what the expectations are from a fiscal perspective. So that as I'm supporting the board as a voting member, making sure that we're in compliance with the regulations. And so when one gets kicked up like that, the first thing I'm going to do is go research and figure out what does that actually say, and then go consult peers about what are the application innuendos of that particular regulation that would apply to this particular position.
So please describe your familiarity and understanding of the rules and laws governing housing authority, example RCW 35.82, and only 1 in 50 ever when we have this actually know it, just so you
Yeah. So I don't know what that one specifically says. You gave me a title, I might be able to recognize, but I haven't memorized the number on that one.
I don't either.
But okay, fair enough.
They put it in.
Yeah. So there is a aspect, particularly when it comes to housing authority. There's quite a litany of requirements, for, all in the auspice of transparency. Required audits, required record keeping. Quite a few regulations regarding the do's and the don'ts with the fiscal funding. Obviously, aspects about equitable treatment of people. And make sure that you're not providing favoritism to one group of individuals of another. This is it's a source of housing for folks that need that have not been blessed with adequate funds to compete in the general community, and that's irregardless of any kind of social background or racial background. So. And so there's a whole litany of those types of regulations that ensure we meet those objectives.
All right, great. So do you have any conflicts of interest?
I have no conflicts of interest, okay? I would not be providing, acquiring any personal benefit from any of the projects that I interact with this particular venture, so.
All right.
And the most difficult one of all, do you have any questions for us?
Okay, I will make this statement. Okay, I know that typically when you get into board type scenarios, it's a 2 out of 3 kind of scenario. The objective of the true objective of affordable housing, I really want to be focused on the solution of the housing aspect and not be really concerned about I'll call posturing. All right, I want to take my effort and energize and focus on construction of housing and then managing housing for the people and serve the people. And frankly, if as I perceive that's the objective for the county, I'm 100% in on that aspect. But if there's any aspect that gives any point of concern for either the 3 of you, I encourage you not to select me for the spot. Because like I said, I want to be focused on the construction of housing and not on posturing. So that's the general aspect I would like to just be completely transparent about. Okay?
All right, great.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
well,
Thank you.
we'll discuss this later and then get back to you and tell you what we decided.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris. All right, Dan, your turn.
Please don't ask me what RCW is.
Yeah, what is RCW?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up.
Actually,
So that specific RCW does deal with the housing
it's the
authority.
whole thing.
So,
5,000 pages or,
I'm good.
it's huge, so, yeah. That's a tough one. Mackenzie, that's a tough one to put in there. Just saying.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Well, I guess it was better than what is the meaning of life. That was, how do you answer that one?
Yeah, I don't know.
Please don't interview me.
Yeah.
Good morning,
So
commissioners.
Dan.
Morning.
Yes.
So do you have any questions for us?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's not how I wanna start a Monday, guys.
It's either that or physical therapy. which
Yeah.
You could
right.
do physical therapy. It's-
In your packets was our quarterly report, winter and fall. We did update our look of it, but it's the same similar content as always. And I just want to start off by saying we have some amazing people here in Mason County doing amazing things. A lot of our programs are run by volunteers, and that when people give back to our communities in a meaningful way with education, wonderful things happen. So I get the privilege of working in this space, and Mason County is blessed to have the residents that they have. Just some highlights for you. Provided training in February for 10 educators in the area on experiential education. There's a 6-hour training that allowed them to now use the challenge course out at Panhandle 4-H camp, but also using these practices in their classrooms. So wonderful opportunity for them to get some professional development. We're currently doing our summer camp counselor training in 4-H. 34 local teens are doing once a month, and with overnight weekend opportunities to do intensive leadership training for our summer camp. And that goes beyond summer camp. That is skills that they're learning for life and all that other stuff, the communication, planning, teamwork. So it makes it for a very fun weekend. I wrote a very, very hard letter the other day. My daughter won the 4-H Key Award, which is the highest honor in our program. It recognizes the youth for what they've done in 4-H. So as a professional, I can write those letters pretty well. As a dad, holy buckets, did that hit home that my daughter's graduating from the program and moving out. And, well, we won't go into that, but very happy to report the 4-H Key Award was awarded to my daughter, Lucy. And just a phenomenal youth that we're working in our communities.
On that, so Kiwanis, they have a Key Club, and they do a lot of things when it comes to teaching them how to do media and stuff like that. 4-H surprised the heck out of me many years ago when I went to theirs, and they're actually based on like Masons. They have a great structure on how they teach them how to function. You use the term key. What is what do they do to get that?
The Key Award is done by a rubric that says, have you experienced things at the national level, state level, leadership positions? When you apply to the Key Award, you know if you get it or you don't because you've already met that criteria. It's a capstone award that says, and it's just not open to one person, it's open to anyone that applies if you meet this criteria. Because we know that more 4-Hers who do the club-based program, the project-based program, the leadership program, the more intense they are, the better the results. So that's really what it's called the Key Award because it opens up the key to the future, things like that. And then with the Key Award, you get it on your resume, but then you get 4-H cords to wear at graduation as well. So
Very cool.
yeah, wonderful opportunity, which is pretty great. And then lastly, Wednesday morning, 2 chaperones and 5 youth here in Mason County are headed to Washington, D.C. to attend the National Ignite 4-H Conference. So wonderful opportunity. I believe 3,000 4-Hers across the nation are going to D.C. To learn and grow together. So that's great.
So the hotels are booked.
I was just there last week, and yes, it was very busy. SnapEd has engaged over 4,000 youth and adults in their classes and workshops the past few months. They work in 3 school districts, our therapeutic court here in Mason County, as well as with 22 community partners educating on nutrition and healthy food choices. Food safety and preservation, 25 gauges checked this last go around, which is pretty amazing.
Very good.
27 calls about food safety. Oftentimes we get the calls of people that don't know who else to call. I have mold in my jar. Is this still good to use or not? Who do you call about that? So pretty safe practices. Call our office and we will help you out with that. Also with that, a master gardener is also a trained food safety preservation person through WSU. He is now going to be doing food safety preservation tabling at our master gardener events in the community, which then opens up the door to evenings and weekends, so it's just not during our office
Will those
time.
be open to the public?
They are open to the public, absolutely. So that's the opportunity that they get is just, we want to get this information out there. Botulism is real, so please get your gauges checked. And we do checks for free. We do not charge for gauge checks. Master Gardeners just wrapped up their series called Through the Garden Gate. It was a 6-series professional development on Saturdays, various topics, and approximately 75 people per session. So it was a hybrid in-face and Zoom, and just wonderful professional development for our community gardeners, which is great. Have you been to Catalyst Park recently, up on top of the hill? Our Master Gardeners.
Last year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Our Master Gardeners, it's called the Dream Project. They're working with the city of Shelton, the Blue Zone group, as well as an anonymous donor donated $15,000 to jumpstart that site to make it a world-class educational facility. And you can read more about it in the article, but wonderfully passionate volunteers looking at advancing their mission of horticulture education, not just for those gardeners, but a community garden space for anyone, making food available for those that need it. So just a wonderful opportunity, all led by volunteers.
And it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's a neat garden.
Our small farms program, Tessa, is killing it. 4 individuals attended our Cultivating Success program. That's a pretty intensive, so you bought a farm, what are you gonna do with it? And it really walks them through whole farm planning. 4 residents of Mason County attended. It's a statewide program, and that's the most that we've ever had in one session. And they actually toured Skokomish Valley Farms here in Mason County, so all those participants came to Mason County. So we're just showcasing our wonderful place here that we have. And then the Noxious Weed program continues to do wonderful survey work, not noxious weed pulling, and keeping those nasty plants out of our community. And if you know of anyone willing to serve on our board, please let us know. Finding volunteers to serve on volunteer boards it's hard.
Have you reached out to Ken Van Buskirk, just out of curiosity, because you're from that area, right?
Yeah, I have not, but
Yeah, reach out to
will.
He would be awesome.
And he's a farmer, he does a lot of that type of stuff, and I know he knows it inside and out.
Yeah, okay, that's wonderful. Thank you for the tip. That's all I really have. Very, very proud of our work. Very, very proud of our partnerships. This is the time of year where it looks really not nice weather outside, but we're doing the inside stuff to prep for the outside stuff coming up. And we're trugging right along. We are short a Mason County 4-H coordinator. We did interviews 2 weeks ago. We're in the background check stage right now. So hopefully we'll get that position filled ASAP, because having a short staff with an already tight staff is not fun.
When you have that canning thing, would you please keep me in the loop on that?
Absolutely.
I'm 61 and I just started trying to can the worst tasting pickles you ever had. And I sucked at it really bad. I'm not usually that bad at anything I try, but I sucked at it pretty bad.
Yeah.
But there's this other stuff called pemmican or something like that. Some of the older
Yeah.
things they used to make, I'd love to find out how to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll stay in touch with you on that one for sure.
That's funny. Kens and I were just talking about jams and how you put wax on the top. And you'd have to scrape the wax on the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Kelly was talking with us too, so it was fun.
People are getting more into food preservation, and
Yeah.
it's a hot topic. And we only use USDA information. Grandma's old recipe on how to can. Please don't use that. Please get your gauges checked, because if you're off by at least 2 pounds, it could not be safe to be eating. So it's really important that you do it right. We do a lot of shellfish and meat processing in Grays Harbor, and that's where you get some really bad stuff happening with meats. So
We used to have an employee that would make us homemade clam chowder and stuff and can it and bring it to us for holidays.
yeah, I love it.
I was afraid of it. To be honest with you, it's separated there.
Yeah.
You said, I don't know.
It's interesting stuff. Tuna does the same thing. Tuna separates,
Yeah.
and it looks a little interesting.
Cheese springs tuna too.
Yeah, I love it. And any questions for me? I'm going to interview you guys now. Any questions for me?
What are you doing with the Hulu?
Oh,
Right?
breaking down barriers, getting them to work together and try to figure out how to process something out. So what we do with that scenario is we get them to experience something, and then we talk about debriefing and briefing, how we just don't experience stuff. What do you do with it? It's the do, reflect, apply side of experiential ed. So, yeah. I like to learn by playing. I can't sit still. I used to be a classroom teacher. It's too confining for me. So,
Yeah, yeah. No, you do a great job and your staff is awesome.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're very blessed.
Yeah. We may not have a fairgrounds, but we have a rockin' 4-H club.
I agree. And we have a new fair theme this year. It is Bigfoot, Big Fair, Big Fun. That's the new fair theme coming up.
So we're gonna have Sasquatch come?
Absolutely.
Good.
So, thank you, commissioners.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
No,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
You guys do an amazing job out there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions, comments? Let me know. You guys know how to get a hold of me.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Lisa.
Morning.
I don't know how I can beat that this morning. This is pretty boring.
I was thinking.
Actually, no, I'm gonna have a question for you on it. For years, you've been bringing every little, I'm just wondering why. Is there any way, because we would ask your permission more than anything else, but somehow you always have to bring it to us, and I never,
I do because the
Because
commissioners have the ultimate authority.
On the
at
budget.
$150 and $200 and.
I know,
Yeah.
I know,
Just seems not a
right?
good use of your time.
Every
I don't
kid
care
in
about
town.
mine, but your time.
I suppose there's nothing that says you couldn't delegate that authority to the treasurer overall of what's within certain dollar
Yeah.
amounts. I mean, that's something we could probably
Can we
talk
ask-
about,
Can we
but-
ask you to just put something together that
I
looks
can
like
look
that,
at
so we
that,
can talk
sure.
about that?
Yeah,
Sure.
that'd be cool.
So I'm here this morning because the health department needs another cash drawer. Exciting,
I'm supportive.
So exciting.
right?
Yeah.
So they need a new cash drawer up at their new health department. So they're asking for a drawer with $200 in it. They make a lot of change for death certificates and those type of things up there. So they're asking for a little bit more than what they have downtown, and there are 2 cash drawers. So we're going from $200 to $400 for them. And overall, they'll have 3 drawers. And so that's what I'm bringing forward to you today.
I'm supportive.
So,
Yeah.
Sounds good.
sounds good. I will take your suggestion and run with that and see what I can come up with there.
Well, I've been around now for 13 years, and every time you bring it forward, I always actually feel bad. It's like, why are we doing this to you?
Well,
Because quite often, it's the only thing you have.
right?
You have to come down just to do that. That's just.
That is. All right.
But
I
we
will-
do enjoy seeing you.
Yes.
Yes, well,
Yeah.
thank you. All right.
Will we see you
I
tomorrow?
Well, yes, as a matter of fact, you will.
Very cool.
Okay.
All right. We're Community Development.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Good. Yourself?
Good.
Good.
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, no worries. I'm glad we finally are here to talk about this. So, again, Josh, building official here. As we've talked on a few different occasions, I think me and you were at a meeting together. You sent me some emails in regards to how to address the energy non-compliance, if I may. So I was asked to come up with a few options or some, do some research in regards to those. And so I am here today to kind of present some of those to you and maybe get an idea of a path forward and maybe discuss those a little further. So first off, a little background on I-2066 that was passed this last election cycle. Or voting cycle, which pretty much eliminated the disincentivized, discouraging of natural gas or gas in general, which currently the international or the Washington State Energy Code does do that in some instances. So therefore, there is kind of conversations on both ends that now the Washington State Energy Code is not in compliance with state law, and now what do we do with that? The various sections of codes clearly state that we are not allowed to violate state, federal, or local laws with the codes. That initiative also set forth that the State Building Code Council shall amend the current codes to make sure we are falling in line. However, my conversations with representatives from that organization sounds like they're kind of just waiting for the next code to be adopted. They believe that's when it's going to be addressed. However, counties, cities, other jurisdictions are left to kind of figure that out now. So with that, I've come up with a few options, both discussing with other jurisdictions. And you actually sent me one that Yakima did, that was to eliminate the Washington State Energy Code temporarily, by all means. Please note this is all temporary until the State Building Code Councils comes up to speed, if I may. That first option is going to be to eliminate the Washington State Energy Code and adopt the 2021 International Energy Conservation Code, along with Chapter 12 of the International Residential Code. Once again, Yakima took that approach. I do have some concerns in regards to the way our building community uses some of the tools that the Washington State Energy Code provides, and I feel like if we were to take that approach and adopting that, that we would eliminate some of those options and paths forward, which could be detrimental. One of those being, continuous installation is a huge requirement now from the Energy Code, and is also a requirement of that International Energy Conservation Code. The Washington State Energy Code, however, gives us some documents that we can, I call it rob Peter to pay Paul, and what I mean by that is we can increase insulation or your window values to eliminate that. I would say probably 95% of our builders or homeowners use that to eliminate that aspect. Their concerns are if it's not installed properly, what does that do adversely to the structure, structural integrity and so on, along with cost. It's another trip around the house that the contractor installer has to do, along with the material and so on. Then there's also questions in furring out your windows, your openings to make sure everything's flush and so on. So there is some concern about that, and once again, the common approach is to use the tools that the Washington State Energy Code gives us to get out of that. So again, adopting that International Energy Conservation Code would kind of tie their hands, and I think might not be as favorable as maybe some of the other approaches that we have coming up or that we'll discuss. Some cons with that, minus the ones I just told you, is we don't adopt that code, so we have to go through that process along with purchasing it, and then the staff time to kind of get our head wrapped around it and what that looks like in regards to implementation, and then kind of explaining that to the public. Another con on that, I guess, would also, if this was temporary, at this point it looks like the codes are going to be readopted 24 version, next summer. So with this temporary adoption of this whole different code and then shifting back to the normal one could be confusing or maybe the wrong message, mismessage in a sense. So I think that also is a negative approach to that one. The next option that I think would be appropriate is to modify one of the tables that is probably the biggest violator of the new law, to align the energy or the gas appliances with more the electrical. Therefore, there is no disincentive. Everything's kind of a level playing field. However, the credits they appoint to these things seem kind of arbitrary and made up. So I guess we're kind of bringing that up to, I guess we are bringing it up to a level playing field. However, we're just kind of making it up as we go. So that is an approach. Lewis County and Clark County both took that approach, where they once again just made that equal across the board for your heating appliances or just appliances in general when it comes to using gas. Third, and I think probably the most favorable one, at least in my opinion, and talking with some builders and stuff out there, is to eliminate the energy credit requirement at this point. Again, that is the biggest violator of this initiative. So by eliminating that, once again, temporarily, I think it would put the county in a better situation where we're not violating that law, the initiative, excuse me, along with also giving our builders and so an incentive in that temporary relief until the State Building Code Council kind of rights that ship. So again, with that, I think there's a lot of pros. The building community can still use those other documents and other forms to still get away from the things that aren't so favorable. Once again, that continuous installation, along with in regards to staff time and cost. We don't have to purchase anything else. Staff time is going to be very minimal. And then I think, again, that's going to be very much received on the other end and helping address this, along with also temporary affordability with houses based on the energy code kind of adds additional and makes things cumbersome and so on. So those are kind of the three options I have, before you here. However, definitely open to other ones. I guess the fourth option, which personally I don't think is an option, is just to do nothing. And talking with at least you two about this, I don't think that is the appropriate approach or a favorable one from the commission. So,
Right. And so you said that the third option is probably the one that most builders would support as well?
yes, I believe talking with the handful along with OMB, that is one that they are all. I didn't even think of that. That would be easy. Once again, this is all temporary until either the State Building Code Council did want to kind of, address it now and or wait. But once again, it's just temporary, and I think that would be a big benefit to just the community currently. Whether it was to address this, but just to address other concerns that they have about the energy code as well. So,
Right.
I support the eliminate,
Okay.
but I want to touch base on just something, this, thank you, Kel. And I want you to know I very much appreciate, I think this is what government's supposed to be doing. Sometimes we're gonna be at odds with the state and others. The fact that you guys are strong enough to start to stand up some of them, I hope you'll bring us many more like this in the near future. And as I said, when I was mentioned to him in that room, you should have seen his eyes light up. He's been waiting for us to say this, I guess, and because he knows it's wrong. We don't know what to do about it. We need you to come and tell us. Thank you for doing that this time. I'm 100% supportive of it, and again, I hope you will both bring us more.
yeah, I'll be definitely more mindful of conflicts that come up like this to bring them up and so we can address them. Please note too, I have shared this with Tim Whitehead in his office. He's reviewing it. I just want to make sure that we're, not putting ourselves in a negative situation here. He's very busy, as you guys are well aware. He said it's definitely on his to-do list, and will get back to me as soon as possible. And then what comes from that, I'll bring forward to you, or maybe ask to sit with him and Mark to maybe have a better understanding if there is any legal ramifications or concerns with it. No legal scholar, but one saying don't defy the law, while the other one's kind of making us do it. So I guess we'll leave it up to the experts to help us navigate that route there. So,
Yeah, I'm in support.
okay.
Yeah, no, this is awesome. I am so happy to see this moving forward. I mean, we need more houses. And
yes.
I'd rather not make it more difficult
Yeah.
and push builders away, so.
We want to support you when you have these ideas, like in that room. He was explaining it to the builders. It's like, why aren't we?
Yeah.
So when you have these things, bring them to us.
Yeah, and we have a good relationship with the building community along with OMB and stuff. So they're very vocal on that, which I appreciate because, they come out with a different view, and I think it's good to hear those and address them as we can, and as they come up. So,
And I really want to thank you for sending this over to Tim.
yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
yes, it's
So we're not
Pushed
gonna get-
aside every now and then.
Yeah, no,
and then it usually costs
I don't want to
us,
get
so.
myself in trouble,
Right.
nor the county in general. So,
Yeah.
I think there's a right approach, and
Yeah.
here we are. So,
Yeah.
awesome.
appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate your time. When I hear back from Tim, I will proceed forward and hopefully see you guys in regards to moving this even farther.
Yeah, look
So-
forward to the briefing when you can brief us on it so we can get it on the agenda.
Okay, sounds perfect.
Mark has something.
I do. So I think the difference with this is the initiative that passed.
Mhm.
So that's really what gave us the opportunity to go and take a look at alternatives
Right.
for these things. Oftentimes,
Correct.
when we adopt the law,
Yes.
We
Whether
are
we
kind
like
of
it or not,
forced,
it's
whether we like
kind
it
of
or
is
not.
what it is. So, yeah.
I really do enjoy watching Josh interact with the building community, because I think he does a great job of sharing information with them and coming up with alternatives, or just, you know, what's the best approach to meeting some of the new guidelines and requirements that are put before us. So love to see us set something up like that again, Cal, with the building groups here in Mason County.
There was probably
Do that
20 in that
regular.
room.
We have another meeting on the 29th at Bill's First Choice, so.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
yes.
Yeah, there was probably 20 at least in that room. They all respected him. They all respected him.
Can you send me that information?
Yes. Yes, I will. As soon as I get I was asked last week, so I haven't got the official invite, but I definitely will forward that on,
Okay,
so,
yeah, to all three of us.
They get
Okay.
give you donuts and all kinds of good stuff.
yeah.
Okay,
Awesome, well, if there's nothing else for me, I appreciate your time.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. You guys take care.
so we do have one more thing from CDC, and that's the historic preservation.
He's the one
Oh,
that makes.
jeez. I sometimes forget about them. I was wondering where you were.
Yeah, hiding in case anyone's trying to find me at the counters today. Good morning, commissioners. I'll do a little bit of a intro and background, since I don't believe I've had any historic preservation briefings since Commissioner Tarswell joined on. So, my name is Luke Viscusi. I am staff member for the Historic Preservation Commission, and one of the roles the commission has taken on since 2011 has been an annual and sometimes multiple in a year heritage grant for historic preservation projects that nonprofits and government entities in Mason County can apply for to get their projects funded. So the focus is on historic preservation, but we've funded walks and talks, actual renovations to historic structures, and kind of everything in between from various Mason County nonprofits, tribal entities, government entities. So, as I said, started in 2011, and this is the 22nd grant cycle that we will be doing. So in February, the Mason County Historic Preservation Commission had a public meeting where they reviewed and scored applications from various nonprofits that had applied to our grant program. And out of the 7 applications, they are recommending approval to fund 5 of those applications. We had budgeted a total of $20,000 previously, when the budget was submitted last year. And so we'd be using all 20,000 of those dollars for this Heritage Grant Program. The 5 entities that were recommended funding approval for are the Harstein Island Community Club, the Mason General Hospital Foundation Arts Commission chapter, also just going by Mason Health Foundation, the McCreevy House Museum of Hood Canal, Pickering Homemakers Club, also doing business as Pickering Community Club, and the Skokomish Grange number 379. All these projects, they vary from maintaining structures that are on Mason County's registered local historic place list, to expanding displays and creating information, revolving around historic preservation in a health clinic that Mason General Hospital has, re-insulating and trying to keep up to code certain structures, and expanding museums that there's currently tours at, but they're trying to slowly build back the entirety of this house to be as historic as they possibly can, and try to continue to bring in revenue for their museum. So I'd say a wide range of projects, and I've given you a lot of paperwork. I believe there's 90 pages in that packet for you to go through. It's their application package and the guidelines for our grants. I think I've already talked about the budget, public outreach for this. Annually, I'm sending the notice for these grants out to any past grantees. We do a news release that happened in November, and the deadline for applying is in January. So at this point, the requested action is for approval of the 2025 Mason County Heritage Grants as discussed for a total of $20,000 to the 5 organizations that I mentioned. If you have any questions at all about the attachments, the processes, anything like that, I'm happy to answer them.
All right, Commissioners, any questions?
Nope.
Just comment.
Comment?
Over the years, this has been a godsend to so many of our smaller, little tiny old places like the Granges and stuff like that. It's also been used for educational purposes. The Sergeant Oyster educational thing, people wouldn't realize that Sergeant's Oyster House was where Taylor and all of them basically learned. And it's out there now, and it literally created the process we still use today for having oysters in a jar. Wouldn't have known that except for the monies that were spent by this. I very much appreciate it. I think it's money well spent, and I'm in favor.
I'm in favor.
All right, yeah, great job. And yeah, it was a lot of reading, but it was well worth it. Yeah, I appreciate your passion that you have for this too. You're following in some good footsteps, and I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you. If I could spend more time in historic preservation, I would, but there's plenty of permits to get to instead.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, we appreciate you.
All right, thank you very much. Have a nice rest of your day.
All right, thanks, you
Thank you.
too. Anything else, Cal? No. No. Okay. Easy peasy.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks, guys.
The table is so empty.
I know. Until tomorrow. Looks like you're first on the list.
Yeah.
I just have the National County Government Month proclamation that NACO releases every year. NACO is the National Association of Counties, and it's just a way to celebrate county government.
I'm good. You guys good?
Yep.
Good.
Well, that was easy.
Right? Oh, way
Easiest
too
one
easy.
yet.
I've got one that was kind of like Lisa's. It's an update to our purchasing and contracting policy. Normally you'd have Jen briefing you on this. She included all the materials within your packet. It's really some minor changes to it. She's pushed this through the audit committee and they've approved it. And so now it needs to come before the commissioners to solidify those changes. Be happy to try and answer any questions that you might have on it. But they're pretty straightforward.
I'm sure you can answer any question.
Yeah, our public works department is probably the one that uses this the most. And so they had some valuable input and feedback associated with some of the changes that you saw in here.
I got no problem.
Okay, so we'll move this forward to our action agenda.
Yep.
Next item I have for you is a topic that you asked me to bring back after a couple of weeks. We received a request from the Mason County Housing Authority to help them with the cost of their executive director position to the tune of about $85,000 per year. The county has a little bit of history. The county has assisted the Housing Authority in the past. This is something that is not new, but it is a new request for a dollar amount. And so wanted to bring this topic back up so the commissioners to discuss how they'd like to move forward.
Commissioners want to discuss it? Or do you have any?
With everything going on, the
I'd
last
say
thing we
put it
should
on
be
hold.
doing is getting involved with anything personally.
Well, and so if we start doing this, my fear is that we're gonna have, I mean, do we wanna fund Turning Point's executive
You're not
director? Do we
paranoid,
wanna?
Commissioner. They really are out to get it,
They
so.
really, yeah, and I just, like I said before, I want consistency. I don't wanna, I want everybody on the same playing field, so I would rather not move it forward.
Okay.
Yeah, no holds, no
That's
nothing,
one.
just gone.
Oh, you're nothing.
I
Okay.
don't think that we should do it at all.
I agree.
Good.
Kill it.
Okay.
So yes, we have received a number of questions from other nonprofits within our community saying, oh, I didn't know that this was available. So this will
It's
help
not.
answer those questions. Yeah. All right. So that's all I had for you. I can definitely
Appreciate your comments.
shoot a message back to the Housing Authority, letting them know that at this time, the commissioners are not going to entertain paying $85,000 for their executive director.
But don't leave, because you're here, it brought up something in my head, so.
I won't, and JC's on her way, she's coming from Port Angeles, so I'm just here for moral support.
So the next topics, that was all I had for central services. The next topic I have for you, I believe we scheduled Public Works to go last today. Didn't we revise our, so it would be public health? Thank you, Mackenzie.
Well,
So, oh, did you
before
have
we
something?
leave us, yeah, I wanna, there's a few things.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
wanna do on discussions and calendar and stuff like that.
Okay.
Because my calendar didn't work that day, I just wanna throw a few out just in case we have our elected officials meeting. We have I have an Orco Regional Clean Air Authority meeting that I didn't mention, a bond meeting, a bond meeting in North Mason School District, Rotary meeting, Wasatch Legislative Update, I'll be on the line, but I won't be commenting or anything like that. Does anybody have any reason why I have retirement golf in my phone? Do you guys have?
Retirement golf.
Yeah, somebody's retiring, I think at a golf course, or something I can think of.
Well,
No idea?
encouraging you to tee off in that area?
Yeah, no, well, if nobody does, I'm probably not gonna be there, but, so, I can't figure out what it means. There's another thing that I wanted to touch base on, and that is, I got, the thing that happened with Nicole, the nice thing that came out, I wanna remind us that we have a Green Star program. And I would like to accept that letter as an opportunity to nominate her for a Green Star. I also.
Pin it on her chest.
Yep, we have it up here in the chair, but there's a second one too, I wanna read this to you, okay? I'd like to also put this forward as not, if I have to write it up, to do it in the past, the commissioners or somebody would write it up, or a director or something. Good morning, Randy, I wanted to reach out to express my gratitude for the help Mason County Sheriff's Office has offered to Jazz, that's that animal control group. They came out to deal with some pretty heavy stuff. These last 2 weeks, Detective Alfonso Mercado assisted in the execution of a warrant on 213 involving almost 600 animals on probable cause for animal fighting and animal cruelty in the first degree. Detective Mercado worked closely with Thurston County Detective Burton Crow and Regional Animal Services of King County Sergeant Moore in interviewing the suspect to gain vital information for our investigation. His bilingual interviewing skills, along with his knowledge of animal fighting, made him an integral piece to this operation. The information that we gathered is not only helpful in this case, but will also aid us in investigations across the state. Last Thursday on 2/20, I was given extremely short notice, hours to gather a team and return to the scene and impound all the remaining 400 plus animals. I called Detective Mercado, and within 30 minutes he secured a team of our 4 Mason County Sheriff's Office personnel to assist in the response. Mason County Sheriff's Office personnel assisted with animal handling, containment, and loading of several hundred animals in just under 3 hours. I'm beyond grateful, and for Detective Mercado and Mason County Sheriff's Office, as I could not have executed this response without their help. It is an honor to work with the Mason County Sheriff's Office, and I look forward to the future and further opportunities. I bring this up because when I was talking to her from Jazz, she would like to recognize him, Officer Mercado. So with that, I would like to also request that from the Commission's office that we put forward a Green Star for Officer Mercado as well.
And that was back in February. Have you reached out to the sheriff? To see if they've already done something. Sometimes they recognize them over there and we don't know.
Yeah, no, I didn't, because I actually have talked to her about something else happened on that, but this was her request to us, so that's where I kept it. It was a request that we recognize it, and we do have a program.
I can definitely pull those together.
Okay.
Would you guys be okay with that?
Yeah, sounds
Yeah, we have
sounds like a heck of a job.
pretty cool people in Mason County.
Yep.
They represent us well. Okay, anything else?
I think that's what I had, except for, commissioners, in the past, they had come forward to us with a request for that money. I'm still not fully on with it, and I would like to see us put out a request to them to come up with half of it from the community. That's kind of what we had talked about before. If
What request?
the request for the housing vouchers to find out what the actual costs are that we have throughout the county. I definitely was not interested in getting the whole amount out, because that just, if there's not a partnership, then it isn't gonna work. There's so many different people that are involved, they should kick in a little bit. If they did, I think they should bring it back to us with the idea that we try to help them a little bit instead of carry the whole load, but instead of let it just disappear, I wanted to bring it up again.
Can we add this for a discussion at another date, and that way we can kind of prepare for it?
I can.
Thank
So
you.
that is, I can add it for, let me look at my calendar real quick. Looks like March 17th. Does that sound good?
St. Patrick's Day? Sounds great.
So March 17th, and this would be the update to rent rates. Okay.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Okay.
That's plenty though.
And, yeah, yeah. All right,
Public health?
public
We're the
health.
only ones in the room, I figured. Elimination. Morning, commissioners. Good
morning.
How are you?
Doing well, how are you? Do you want me to just,
So, we're gonna lead off with Melissa, since she's got the bulk of stuff.
sorry, bear with me.
You're gonna lead. Oh my
Okay,
gosh.
the first item I have is an amendment with the Healthcare Authority for an additional $40,262 for our law enforcement assisted diversion, our LEAD program. This is really an enhancement that came from remaining ARPA funds. And at this time, it's kind of staying with public health. We've been doing a lot of work with the LEAD Technical Assistance Group to do some assessments, a site assessment of how is our LEAD program working, what are some of the strengths, and what are some of the needs in the future. We don't have plans to subcontract this out to our provider for any additional services at this time. So the ask here would be to move this to the March 18th action agenda for approval. Any questions on that one?
No questions, not for me. Good, good.
Yep.
Where's the funding to?
Healthcare Authority. Next item, North Mason Regional Fire Authority Syndemic Clinical Services. So as you know, over the last year, we received additional funding from DOH to do the syndemic clinical services, expanding our syringe service program to include wound care, infectious disease testing and treatment. We've had a little bit of challenges finding a provider. So thankfully our partners at North Mason Regional Fire Authority, we met with Chief Bakken last week or 2 weeks ago. And they really don't want to see this fail. The state is looking at a lot of funding issues that many programs are having, and they will rescind funding if we don't fully implement programs by April 15th. So Chief Bakken and the crew at North Mason they have staffing available to assist us with implementing the services by then. And so we have a contract to do a pilot utilizing their PA, their physician's assistant, as well as their registered nurse to just get this program going in South Mason. And this also works in conjunction with their expansion of the mobile integrated health program in the south end of the county. So we have the draft contract attached. No impact to the general fund. This is already something that's been budgeted. We want to spend the money by June 30th. So I've attached the contract, and we just asked to move this to the March 18th action agenda for approval. Any questions?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, we are very grateful and thankful and excited actually to see how this will work out with our partners in North Mason.
So this is the program that we had talked about before of actually purchasing a vehicle and going out and doing
So-
mobile wound care and.
Right, so we've got the money for that. I don't wanna move forward until I find out how this budget season's working out, because I could buy a vehicle and then not be able to staff it. So what we wanna do is to get through this time period up to June 30, and then we'll come back to that. If funds are reallocated or reapportioned for us in the spring, fine. If not, we're gonna fulfill our contractual obligations between now and June 30.
And so as far as being able to spend this money by June 30, we should be able to with North Mason?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Mhm. This will allow us, we have a budget, I think, attached in the contract, as much as we can. We're gonna try to spend it. And they are available to start pretty much as soon as possible. We have a meeting with them this afternoon.
I love
When you
this.
say buying another vehicle, you're talking about for starting it in the south end. of the
Well, no,
county.
this, we were looking to, we have, right now, we've got a 1997 motorhome that we're doing outreach and homeless outreach through. Last summer, we looked to upgrade that to an actual health unit. So something that looks better, has a treatment room in the back, has some space up front for behavioral health. And we're going through the process of doing that for an RFP. Cut that off, it's gotta be an it's a request for bids. So we paused on that, and then as of the first of this year, I said, you know, let's just pause this completely until we figure out what the budget is going to do coming out of the legislature. I just don't want to step out and obligate us before I have something in my other hand.
So the amount with this contract with North Mason Regional Fire is $23,638. Does that take care of the amount that we would have to return if we didn't spend?
Not all of it. So we, for the first half of the year, we get 92,000, but that also includes like Christina's, almost her full FTE, as well as some of my time, Casey's time. So there's some administrative work included in that as well. And then if we need to purchase supplies, we may need to purchase more wound care supplies, things like that, to actually provide the services.
Okay.
And so would those go through North Mason?
Yeah.
So this purchasing the supplies?
We
and
would
things like
purchase
that,
it.
because
Yeah, the
like they
23,000
would let
is.
you know what,
Yes.
what is needed, okay. Okay. So good?
Any other questions? Okay, perfect. The, not last item, but one of the last items that I have is the Consolidated Homeless Grant Local Government Application. I'll refer to it as CHG through the rest of this briefing item, but this represents a collection of the state and local funds that we must use to develop and manage our local homeless crisis response system. So we've referenced doing a request for proposal later in the spring to select the providers. We subcontract these funds out to operate the homeless crisis response system. This is a two-part application process. So the application that we have here due at the end of March, it's due on March 28th, is for the local government to answer a few questions about what is our homeless crisis response system. Who are the players, who are the stakeholders? I think a lot of the information that we will include in this application is really gonna come from input from our 5-year plan leadership team, which includes representation from the city and the county, just to determine what do we want to prioritize going into the year. I can't make any recommendations in terms of what exact programs and kind of project intervention types, such as eviction prevention or rental assistance, emergency shelter, until we know how much money we're actually going to get. And Commerce will not know that until the end of the legislative session in April. At this time, they are recommending that local governments expect that there's going to be a 20% reduction in funding. So what I've attached to the briefing is just what the last biennium, so 2023 to 2025, what the funding looked like for the project intervention types as well as the agencies that we did contract with, to kind of get a picture of what is the current landscape. And then as the 5-year plan group meets, we can talk a little bit about, is this meeting the actual need? Are there other things that we need to do with this money? So what I'm asking for this application is just for permission to submit it. Local government is the lead grantee and we can't opt out of it, so kind of we have to submit it. But just asking, notifying and, keeping the board informed of what exactly the steps are in the process. And if you have input or questions, happy to take that. But that's the ultimate ask, is just to move forward with submitting this. And then I will be able to let you know what the funding looks like for part 2 of the application at a later date.
So are you thinking 20% on this project, or is this
Total.
is this a warning for all things to come?
For Consolidated Homeless Grant in particular.
For that
I
project?
can talk to the others here.
Okay.
Yeah, which includes, local document recording fees, so the fees on, I don't know what paperwork exactly is included in
It's
that.
all, I think it's all recorded property transactions.
That's what I was thinking as
I
well.
think it's all recorded.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's also,
Yeah.
that's been on a downward trajectory since COVID, so that's also included in the expect 20% less.
Actually, for our land, we've been doing all right, but at some point when they're charging so much to record because of things like this, a lot of stuff don't get recorded because it doesn't truly have to be, it's just smart to.
Any other questions?
Good deal.
Yes. Okay, thank you. I'll keep you informed as the process moves forward. And then finally, the last item that we have is we have our next homeless service provider, New Horizons Communities, here to do their presentation. You wanna go ahead and do it?
Hello, hi everyone.
JC?
How are you? I'm good, how are you all? I'm JC Osterberg Brown. Hi. Let me take my jacket off real quick.
Oh, good, you were able to connect on Zoom.
Yes, I'm on the Zoom. Thank you, Tamara. I'm the Associate Director for New Horizon Communities in the Shelton Veterans Village. Let me share my screen, because I have a PowerPoint. Let's see. I think I did it.
There it is.
Do I need to turn my volume on the computer? Do you think?
I think you're okay. I don't hear any echo.
Okay, I just want to make sure people can hear me and whatnot. Turn this down. Okay. Thank you all so much for inviting us to speak with you. I just have kind of an overview, and then we had some questions that you all wanted us to briefly summarize and whatnot about our organization. So just a brief overview. New Horizon Communities was established in 2007. We actually started in Olympia to help support a tent camp. And then we were able to house those folks permanently at our first tiny home village in Olympia. And then we had our second village in Ording for Ording Veterans Village. That was in 2021. And then we have our Shelton Veterans Village, which we opened up at the end of 2023. And our, is that okay? Okay. Our mission is to provide permanent supportive housing for folks experiencing homelessness. We create and manage tiny home villages that foster community, encourage personal growth, and promote access to the care and services that folks need. And our vision is rebuilding lives and restoring hope. And I'll get more in depth about what exactly permanent supportive housing is and the services that we provide. And that picture was at our Shelton Veterans Village. You can see Deidre there from the chamber. That was actually in celebration of our solar panels that we just had put on, which was really exciting. And then the mayor, Eric Boris, goes there too. This is an aerial shot of when we're in construction of the Shelton Veterans Village, actually. And we're right on North 13th Street on one of the main streets. You've probably seen it driving by.
That looks so much better now.
Yeah, now there's landscaping and a garden, and people have flags up and all that kind of stuff, and personalize their units. That's still during construction. But yeah, we have 30 units, and they are permanent, so they have electricity in them, they have plumbing in them, folks have showers, they have heaters, and all that kind of stuff. So they are permanent. They have everything in there that you need except a kitchen. And so our kitchen is in our community center that folks have. It's a large community center that has multiple fridges, 2 ovens, 2 stoves, a bunch of microwaves, storage lockers for folks for dry food storage, things like that. And then it also has laundry facilities for people. We have a TV room for folks. And then we have staff offices. So we have 3 staff offices. We have an on-site program supervisor who helps with property management, folks paying their rent, doing work orders, making sure things are going smoothly with property management. And then we have 2 case managers that work one-on-one with folks, and I'll get more in depth about that. But I'm just curious if you have any questions. I don't know if you all have visited Commissioner. You all have? Oh, okay. So any questions though about the actual buildings or how that works?
The rooms that you have for them, because isn't there 2 units per, right? Or is it 4?
It's kind of funky. So there are 7 fourplexes. So 7 there's 4 units, and then there's 1 duplex that's ADA for folks. So, and I think it's that red one actually in the top left is the 1 duplex that we have. And it's closest to the community center as well too.
Yeah. And they're amazing.
Yeah.
And walking through them before you opened it up
Yeah.
for everybody. It's neat to see how they have their own private spaces too.
Yes.
Because that's important.
It is important. And the whole tiny house village concept came to when, with our camp residents that we had, we actually worked really alongside them when we built our first village because it was for them. And so they were really in the design aspect of that. And in the camp, they really created a community with one another and they didn't want to lose that. So hence the kind of community center with shared communal spaces, but then they also wanted that privacy. So they can socialize, they can have services and things like that, but then at the end of the day, they can still have a place where they can lock the door, have privacy, do whatever that they need to have their own space. So it's kind of best of both worlds.
I toured the one in Montman also.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so you guys are, the only one I haven't been to is the Oregon.
Yes.
But
Yes.
you guys are doing a great job.
Yeah, that one's definitely a drive. It is a beautiful campus. It's on the Soldiers Home campus, the Washington
Oh, is it?
DVA's campus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I forget how many acres they have, like
They have
100
quite a few.
acres or something.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
it's humongous, but it is beautiful. You'll see
So-
eagles out there. I mean, it's yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I was thinking, well, I'll talk to you about that one.
We'll have to
later
do a
because
tour.
that-
Yeah, it's really beautiful. And the thing too is that we've had lessons learned along the way as well too. So, you know, Shelton's kind of like our 3.0. We had made some enhancements for Ording, and then this one as well too. Like we made the site plan a lot smaller, closer to the community center. No stairs because we found that was an issue for folks. Wanted to make sure they had a shower. We don't have showers in our Olympia one, so it's been really great to be able to have lessons learned and then implement them in our next villages. And so we're so much more than housing. So I said in our mission, we say we provide permanent supportive housing, and that's a mouthful really. But permanent supportive housing is it's an evidence-based practice specifically to house and support people who are experiencing chronic homelessness. And so that chronic homelessness, there's actually like a whole like HUD definition specifically of what that is. But basically it's for folks who are experiencing homelessness for long periods of time. And also have a disability that is preventing them from housing stability. So even if maybe they had rent assistance, they still would get evicted for a reason or another because they just need some sort of support. And so that's where the supportive part comes into the permanent supportive. So permanent as in they sign a lease, it's not time limits. They can stay as long, and then the supportive is we help them with housing stability. So that's where our case managers come in. We have 2 full-time on-site. Their offices are in the community center, and they work one-on-one with folks with really whatever they're needing. So we've had folks need to get their birth certificate or get an ID or help paying off fines. Wanting to go back into school. I was actually just at the site before this, and I was talking to Dave, our program supervisor. He said that 2 of our folks had entered into college and are getting their graduate degrees. Or we've worked with WorkSource. Like we could have providers come on site also, and so we've actually been able to we have 8 of our folks who have gained employment through that kind of return to employment programs with WorkSource and things like that. Mental health, we started a new behavioral health program with interns. So we have a licensed social worker supervisors interns at the doctor, provider, and we're housing veterans only. Sometimes it's only in Lakewood, and that can be really hard to drive there. And even when we have a van that we can help folks with, but it can just be kind of tricky. And so we try to provide things on site for folks so they have access to that. And even if they may forget their appointment, we can literally go right there and knock on their door and say, hey, you're supposed to meet with so-and-so and things like that. So we really try to provide things on site, but also have them reintegrated into the community too. So we work with a lot of different groups, trying to get them out there as well too. I'm trying to see if I forgot something. Recovery housing. So we do strive to provide a clean and sober living environment for our folks. So we don't allow drugs and alcohol on site. That being said, though, of course, anyone who knows someone or has themselves experienced substance use disorder, it's not just as easy as I'm going to quit today. So we do, we work with folks if they do happen to relapse. We work with a lot of the different agencies here if people need to get an assessment or go into inpatient, outpatient.
If they want us to do accountability checks and drug test them, things like that, we will work with them one-on-one. It's not just, oh, you're caught drinking one time, you're out of here. Because then that's not really helping folks with housing stability when they really are needing it. Any questions about the services that we provide on site? Okay, I don't want to just be me talking at you, sorry. So please interject if you have any questions. Oh, and we also have a community garden. So it is a beautiful garden. I'm not a gardener myself, but I can recognize the beauty in it. We've had Mason Conservation District, they worked with us, and we got a huge, large grant from them to plant all sorts of fruit trees and just wonderful things like ADA even, garden.
Raised beds.
Yeah, garden beds, yes. And we've had like a lot of work parties with Rotary and with the VFW and lots of folks who have more of a green thumb than I do. And we have a lot of residents that are really into it as well too, and be able to actually see it from start to finish and start harvesting those things and having them in the community center and cooking with them. It's really cool to see. Oh, and transportation, I missed that one. We do have a van that we got from the Mason County Transit Grant Program, which has been really helpful to help folks get to appointments or grocery shopping, things like that. And then I talked a little bit about this. This is actually a photo of our first resident that moved in, which is always exciting. He's in our TV room. This is just more on into our internship program that we have. Oh, we also have a nursing program with Olympic College. We just started that relationship, which has been really cool. So we've got quite a few folks there. They can do like blood pressure checks, things like that, help folks, get vaccinated or get a flu shot or whatever they're needing, kind of basic stuff. And then also help like with care coordination, finding doctors and specialists and things like that. Solar panels, like I said, there was a photo of the ribbon cutting. That was amazing to have that, and that was all paid with grants. We have a code of conduct, so people do sign a lease. We do have like cardinal rules that folks have to follow, like participating in chores, people have to be respectful, things like that we follow, because it is communal living too. And so sometimes, people may be butting heads and things like that. And we try to work with them on de-escalation or conflict resolution, mediation, all that kind of stuff. And then we have monthly volunteers. The community has been awesome. Beforehand, when this was, kind of out that this was going to be a thing. The community was kind of scared or felt threatened, kind of the unknown of like, what's that going to look like? We're right next to Christmas Village. They were really concerned. And now we have them like baking cookies and coming over and, bringing baked bread, because they have seen, oh, this is actually not what we thought it was going to be, right? Like these are our neighbors and we want to be good neighbors with folks. So it's been really awesome to see the community. We have regular people who come over and cook meals and things like that. It's just been, everyone's been very welcoming.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then y'all asked to see the budget, and I'm happy to send our budget as well too. This is a makeup of our 2025 budget, and so you can see a majority is through rent. So residents do pay rent. They pay 30% of their income, which is the national percentage for affordable housing. And we do have a relationship with the Bremerton Housing Authority, because they're the ones that actually oversee the vouchers here in Mason County. And so we get what are called project-based vouchers, which are very similar to Section 8, but they stay with our units. So we are able to have, we have 30 units, we're able to have 30 vouchers at all time. And if someone wants to move out and they've lived with us for a year, they actually get turned into it. You already know, awesome. It's a really great program, because a lot of our folks, they just even, if they're on 100% disability with the VA or have a good full-time job, are not able to afford an apartment anywhere. And so those vouchers, they're portable, they can move on with them. And that's the major way that we find at all three of our sites that people are able to move on, if they want to move on, is with that program. So that's a huge part. They subsidize our rent for us. So residents pay rent and then we get the vouchers. That's the biggest part of our income for finances. And then we also have a federal grant. It's through HUD. It's called the Balanced Estate Continuum of Care Grant. And that pays for our supportive services, that pays for our case management salary and a little bit of admin. Then we have a wonderful county grant, the CHG that Melissa was talking about, the Consolidated Homeless Grant, which was 2163, and it's yeah
Includes 2163.
includes
Yeah.
okay, yes. So we received that. Which has been great, and that mostly pays for it pays for some salaries, and then it also helps pay for some operations as well too, utilities, maintenance, things like that. We have a small state grant that is through Department of Commerce. It's called an Operating and Maintenance Permanent Supportive Housing Grant, specifically for permanent supportive housing, and that is actually just like a filler grant, so they will fund what your gap is in your budget. So that is a smaller one that we just received. Organizational grants is a small part of that, and that comes from like the Rotary. Skookum Rotary has been wonderful to us. The VFW, American Legion, and Vets, things like that we get. Green Diamond, local grants that we've received. Medicaid, that's a really small one. We are a foundational community supports provider. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with that, but basically we're able to get reimbursed for supportive housing services that we provide, and that's just this really small one. It's larger at our Olympia one because a lot of veterans aren't eligible for that because of their VA health care. So it's a really small. It's like 13,000, or it says right there 13,000, and then donations. Lastly, that we get from the community. Yes.
How many years is the county grant scheduled for?
It is a 2-year one, from what I
2-year
believe,
grant.
and I think it's going to be next year too.
2 years.
2 years, yes. Which is awesome. I love that it's 2 years.
Has that
'cause
one
those-
already passed, or is that coming back before us for a
That's
2 year?
what the Consolidated Homeless Grant,
Yeah.
that's what that is.
That was the contract stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. How much are they paying these days right now for Section 8?
638, I believe. 630. I want to say it's 638. I can double check that number and get it to you, but I'm pretty sure it's 638 for Shelton.
That's close enough.
Okay,
I'm just trying to
specifically
figure
for
out-
Shelton.
'cause are they paying it as a studio? Would you know?
It's no, it's I think it's called an efficient one. So it's technically an single SRO, excuse me, single resident occupancy.
Okay.
Yeah. So like work forced housing kind of, because they share a kitchen.
We were just talking before you came in about looking at the rates and stuff.
Oh yes, absolutely. Great. Any questions about the budget? Okay. Wonderful. And then this is just kind of to show some of the impact that we have. We do biannual surveys with our residents and ask them, how are things going? What can we work on? So just threw this up there, some great things that folks are saying. A lot of folks are feeling supported, have program satisfaction, report having a better quality of life, feel welcomed and valued. And like I said, 8 people have gained employment. We have kind of like a wordle on the bottom left of their favorite part of living at the village, and home and staff, friends, peace are big ones. And just pulled kind of some quotes as well too. People feel more confident. It has given them hope. Thank you for what you're doing. I want to thank all staff. I've reconnected with my brother. Being able to have surgery. You literally can't have surgery if you don't have a place to go to. So that person was able to take care of some of the things that they weren't able to before. So just some stuff. And then of course areas for improvement. That's always going to be a thing, no matter where you are or what you're doing. And so have some of that up there, of people wanting people to follow our rules more, increase activities, which is definitely one that we're working on all of them, of course, but those are some areas of improvement that we're working on. Yeah. And then just some more stuff. We have served 34 people, and only one has exited to homelessness, which is great. We've had 3 people move out. 2 of them were to move in with a spouse. And then, sorry, it didn't go, and now it did. Sorry, you're like, what are you talking about? It was delayed. And only one person has exited to homelessness. And this is a picture actually at the chamber event. We won Nonprofit of the Year, which is really cool and awesome to see. So that's our staff and some of our board, Tamara in the back, celebrating. So that was really wonderful. Yes.
You've served 34. How many are you currently serving?
There are 29 people there right now. So we do have one unit vacant that we're working on.
How long has this been going on to reach number 34? That's right.
What's that? Oh, since September of 2023.
2023.
Yeah. I've already said, 8 people employed. We work with WorkSource, Career Quest. We work with lots of folks to get them into our housing, and if it doesn't work out with us for whatever reason, send out referrals to other agencies to try to get folks housed. And yeah, I think I have some photos. Oh, and it's being slow again. I swear it's on my screen, but it's just a collage of photos.
Sure it is.
I know. Melissa could vouch for me.
It is.
How weird.
It took like maybe 10 seconds.
Okay.
last time.
Oh. Okay, well, it's not showing for some reason. It's just a photo of some volunteers and residents and another aerial of our solar panels. But yeah, and
Have the solar panels been in place long enough to see the benefit of them, or?
Yeah, we have. Well, now that it's kind of wintry time, not so much because it's based off of the sun, but yeah, we actually received one of our electricity bills was like under $100, and we thought like it was a late fee or something, and we're like, no, that's actually what it is. So
Nice.
we don't have like full data of how much it will be saving. We kind of have like approximation of possibly 20,000 annually. But yeah, we're excited to get all that data. We have it actually at all 3 of our sites now too, so it's really, really cool.
It's a nice collage. I'm upset it's not on
I
the
know,
screen.
I think I got kicked out is what happened, and I'll share it again, let's see. There we go. So yeah, so some residents, some folks in the garden. We had a flag raising, which was awesome, from the VFW, St. David's Church. Yeah, just some folks. Love the community.
I love it, and I love that it's working.
Yes. Yeah. And I know the numbers like, 34 people doesn't seem like a lot, but that's the goal of permanent supportive housing is to keep people housed, right? And so for some of our folks, this is the best place for them to thrive, is something with supportive housing, and they have barriers or obstacles preventing them from living independently. Definitely some people use it as a stepping stone though, and move out. But for some folks, that's just success in themselves, living there as long as, they've lived anywhere. So you see that as a success.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Having somebody housed is a success.
Yes.
Yeah. Even one person. So.
Right.
34?
Yeah.
It's 34 people that are not living in a tent somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No, I appreciate you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And I am so glad that you're bringing in our nonprofits, because this not only helps, you've got a small audience here, but honestly, you have a bigger audience, because Mason Webb is out there sharing this with everybody, so everybody will know the good that you're doing in our community.
Oh, thank you so much. I know we were looking at Susan last week. We're like, what did Susan talk about? It's really cool to see like the in-depth of what everyone's doing. So
Right.
yes, thanks for inviting us.
People helping people.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So Mark, when we bring this other forward, the idea of looking at the rates and stuff, as you know, we're in trouble on our own for our general fund, but can you look at utilizing it under planning for the community and see if it's possibility of using REIT funds or 09 funds? Both of them, it may fall under both.
I don't think read off the top of my head, but .09 with economic development.
But the other is long-term planning for our housing, so that's why I said.
The new requirements that went into REIT, yeah.
So.
That is,
Yeah.
you might be right. That is a new allowable cost that they recently put in, so.
So it may help us to do something in the
Help fund
future,
it.
but.
Okay.
Well, great.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the presentation.
Yes.
It was great.
Thank you.
Great.
And who do you have in the room with you?
Oh, I'm so sorry. This is Tamara Ingwelson. She's our program support specialist and networking extraordinaire. And she lives in Shelton.
Who are our other folks?
Yeah.
Are they with you?
I don't know. No.
No, but they're with us.
Oh, okay.
Oh, awesome.
Melissa, I'll let Melissa.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Great presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, what else you got?
You want to introduce?
Oh, sure. Okay. Do you want to come join us? This is Sonakshi and Torin from United We Care.
Lovely to meet you. Hi.
Hi, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And they've been with us since last Monday, getting to know staff and doing a little bit of a demo for the app. I don't know what else would you like to share,
So
Dave?
this is on the mental health app, the pilot project.
Mm-hmm.
They've been up here working with us to develop all the materials, and we've been going through materials and making sure that they're culturally and language appropriate for the community, and working with the providers. We're going up to talk to North Mason on Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. So we'll be able to do referrals from the county. So for county employees, we can do a referral. We're going to do referrals through Mason Health, the health department. We're talking with the tribes about bringing the tribes into doing referrals as well. Our goal is to get 2,500 people into the pilot program and get mental health care for at least 90 days, and then see where we go from there.
And so when does this start?
Starting this week.
Yeah?
Hmm?
Very cool. So how are you gonna advertise it? How are you gonna get the word out?
So, Sonakshi's been working on our Facebook stuff, all the meta type of materials.
Yeah, so there were a variety of means that we're looking to get the word out from. One is definitely localized advertisements on Meta or Facebook. So highly personalized to Mason County, get the referral codes as well, so that, you know, even when people are scrolling, they can see our advertisement, and it's all propagated, like, not from our standpoint, but Mason County. Get people to start downloading the app and engaging with the app. That's one means. Otherwise, we have standees, one-pagers, posters, all designed. So wherever we agree with the partnership and referrals are agreed upon, we can, set our collaterals there. And obviously, Torin and I are here for on-ground activation along. I know Dave has been extremely supportive in this bit as well. So we'll be here to just engage with the community and get the word out as much as possible. But we're really relying on the ads and also all of the design collaterals that we have prepared.
So Jeff Slakey's meeting with us this afternoon.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Or tomorrow afternoon.
Tomorrow
afternoon. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, that'll help get the word out.
Yeah. So we're looking to do Facebook, all the social media.
Press release as well. So we're trying to cover all of our bases in terms of communication online. That is definitely one of the means that we're really relying on. But other than that, obviously reaching out to the radio or any sort of like newspaper advertisements and things like that, that would be really, really helpful in getting the word out.
Okay, so you said press release.
Yes.
We have our next meeting next Tuesday.
Mhm.
Is that something that you would like to read?
Yes, I can do
Or
that.
have somebody read it? Okay. And you don't have to read it word for word. Say, hey, this is coming out.
Yeah. We'll get that. We're putting the final touches on it now. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All done.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. Any questions?
We're very excited about having them here. It's been nice to have United We Care actually drop people in with us and work with us. They're up at Building 13. We have a room that they can work in, and it's been great to have that back and forth communication right there.
This may be a little bit premature, but have you figured out how you're gonna determine the metrics of success?
Oh, yes. We're all over that. Go ahead.
So we definitely do have internal metrics of success, but obviously the first major one is the 2,500 individuals actually registering on the app. That is the first and foremost thing, because we want to get as many people using the app as possible. And then otherwise, we have this internal a dashboard that we've prepared where we'll track like different engagement statistics. So for example, in the app we have Stella as the forefront, the conversational chatbot that's there. So how many minutes are people actually engaging with Stella? How many therapists or coaches or listener appointments individuals are making? How many programs are people enrolling in? How many training modules are people engaging in? So these different metrics for success we have already decided upon. We also have different objectives for the pilot, which we've listed down in our proposal, where where we've mentioned about access and basically how many people that we're able to reach out to. But otherwise, in terms of solid engagement, that whole dashboard will be something that we'll be relying on to understand user preferences, because this will also give us a lot of feedback in terms of what the community needs. For example, we've created a lot of programs on meditation, holistic well-being, but if people are dropping out after just looking at it for 2 minutes, then we know that's not actually relevant to the population. So those things are definitely something that we're looking in terms of determining the success of the pilot.
So, one of the nice things about this is the data is all HIPAA protected.
Yes, completely.
It's all de-identified, so we're not looking at names, we're just looking at consolidated numbers. How many people access the app, or how many minutes, and how many minutes did it take for them to get an appointment with someone, and then for what major is it? Anxiety, depression, those sorts of things. So down the road, we can aim our efforts at what's really important, not at things that are not.
And during the pilot project, that's free to the individuals to download?
It's free to the individuals, yeah. So 2,500 people, has to be 18 and older.
Yes.
So, but it's across the county, and we're going to try to reach out to as many different demographic pieces across the county as we can. So it'll give us the ability, and we're talking about working right now on the Spanish pieces.
Oh yes, definitely. And Dave, you mentioned about Stella being able to interact in Guatemalan, and that's also something that the team is working on. So that, again, language should not be a barrier to accessing care, that's for sure. So we're available in 120 plus languages, and we realized Guatemalan wasn't one of them, so that's something that the team is working on, given that that's
Which one?
And
That-
there's our two major ones, I think that's what we're going to be focusing on.
So that may just take a bit of time, but the team is actively working on it just to get it up and running.
So is this something you would want to recommend for like family members or potential support people to learn about?
Absolutely. So we're going to be reaching out to Mason Health, for example. I talked to Eric early on about this, and because we didn't want to encroach on current activities, right? So he said, absolutely, there's way more demand than there are resources. So yes, please bring another resource in. So, and we're looking to reach out to people who typically would not engage in a brick and mortar modality as it is. One of the problems with the small towns, small communities, people don't want to have their cars seen out in front of the mental health provider. So this gives people an ability to get mental health care with more anonymity.
Thank you.
Well, it sounds awesome.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing the product being used.
Definitely.
Absolutely, we are as well.
Yeah.
We're very excited.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to share a couple of things.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
I did a little bit of time. On budgets, so we met with the legislature last week. Everything's still up in the air. They're still waiting for the budget forecast before they start really getting into the nuts and bolts of things. All the policy bills are basically done unless they're necessary to implement the budget. We really don't have any bills in public health that are hanging there in that necessary to implement piece. So we're waiting for the big funding pieces. There were some proposals that were put out from the governor's office, and the legislature's looking at those. We've been up on the Hill talking to those different things and talking about what FPHS, and this is specifically around FPHS, their biggest concern about Foundational Public Health Services funds. And I sent Mark some stuff to give to our lobbyists to take forward, because I can't do that, to talk about the successes we've had with FPHS, some things we've added, like water quality and on-site septic enforcement and solid waste enforcement and communications and being able to have people who speak Spanish on staff and all those things we've been doing, to include helping to support WIC, which has just been a huge success here in Mason County. We were required to hit 300, and we're at, what, 539?
700.
700. Yeah, so we are better than double.
So Rachel Hook is doing well.
So the state has actually said, you guys are doing so well, we're gonna add more money to your budget on WIC.
Good.
So, so that's been a big success for us. And we
Getting
want
that
to make.
service back was so important.
Oh, yeah. So we just want to solidify the gains that we've made and not lose too much ground. You know, we don't want to go back to like the 2018 level of service that we had in public health, and we were completely unprepared for pandemics. Speaking of which, we had a call come in this weekend for a potential measles case. And then when we dug into it, it wasn't a measles case. It was a doctor looking for clarification on policies and resources for measles. So kind of got us spun up on the weekend, but everything calmed down and we're good. But I think measles is going to come here. It's in Seattle right now, or King County. So we can expect it here, I think, before this is all said and done. Clark County went through it a couple of years ago.
Does it have a season?
No.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And
Clark County had a big problem.
Right.
How long does it take them to get that under control?
Months.
Seems like it was 8 months.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Yeah.
So and it's anything like that is a big budget hit, because if I move people from their normal jobs into dealing with a measles outbreak or a pertussis outbreak or chickenpox, whatever, I'm taking them out of their normal work into something that we have to fund through other sources, typically as county general fund, that we do that through. But then they're not in their programs earning money. So if we spend $80,000 here, we're also losing $80,000 over here. So the actual cost to us is $160,000. So it's something that we watch very closely.
Sounds like a planning issue.
It's an administrator issue for sure, yeah. It keeps me up at night, because I've been through these before with pertussis, when in another district that I worked in, and pertussis got loose, and it really put a big dent in the budget for a while. So just letting you know what's coming up. And we have on the Board of Health this month, very important Board of Health meeting, which is in 2 weeks. Yes, 2 weeks from tomorrow. Yes. We're actually having a hearing with a restaurant that wants to go to the Board of Health for a hearing about some of the requirements we've put on them.
Right, don't we have a Board of Health meeting and then that follows?
And that follows it, yeah. But it's a hearing through the Board of Health. So, and that's part of the appeals process that nobody's ever asked to use before, so.
My first I've ever heard in 13 years.
Right, so we said, absolutely, it's in code, we'll use it. So, it's gonna be an important Board of Health meeting. So, and I think that is all I have. It has been an exciting roller coaster week in the last week or so.
It's going to be until the end of April, at
Till the
least
end.
as far as the funding goes.
Right, and in that funding, one of the nice things we did in 2019 is we got codified that when the FPHS funds come out, that Department of Health and local health jurisdictions have to agree on the allocations, or nobody gets the money. So it's been a real carrot and stick kind of a thing that we've never had it before. Before, DOH just determined who got what. It's not the case anymore. Board of Health gets their allocation, and the tribes, for the fourth piece, get a separate allocation from Treasury that nobody else touches. We don't have to, there's no agreement necessary, they just get the money. But for local health jurisdictions and DOH, we have to sit down and reach a mutual agreement and sign off on it before we get the funds. Which, that adds a whole lot more transparency to the process.
It does. Okay, anything else?
That's all I've got.
Anything for them?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, if you guys don't mind, let's take a 5-minute break.
Before the Loretta show starts.
Oh no. Is this one of the microphones?
Yeah, it is.
Sorry.
It's broken.
I did?
Oh,
Oh.
smash the heck out of it, man.
All right, we're ready. Take her away.
All righty, first up, we have our annual that Mike wants to move to a every 10 years news release
The
for
herbicide.
herbicide.
Do I have to do this every year?
No, there's no requirement to do this.
But every year it does
I mean, I see the.
Work a few heads up.
I see I appreciate the heads up on this. But is there another way that we could say that this is gonna happen? We
It
have a
happens
website.
every year.
I think
We
that,
have a
I think
website.
that there's a less formal way to do it, right? So I think that in terms of, every year, they're bringing it before the commission to have a public announcement and getting approval from you guys. I think that, the really important part is communicating with the public that we're doing it. So those individuals that wanna have, owner will maintain, they need to make sure that they have their signs up and they communicate with us and so I do think that consistent communication about when we're doing it is good, but having to formally go through the commission to get approval to do that every year.
Yeah, over the years, I've found it's very important that it gets said, because some people do get up and some of them get an education, because they'll call and they'll say, well, how do I do my own? And then they realize there's actually a process, you can't just put a sign that says, I will maintain.
Right.
So there is a benefit for having the community involved.
Yeah, we need to be able to read the sign, all those good things. Yeah, so a less formal way would be during the directors and electeds' opportunity to address. We could certainly use time during a regular commission meeting to do that. But it's that time of year again, and visit our website.
Cause I know that Mike really loves coming here.
He does, very much so. Look at him. That's very convincing, Mike.
Except for the eye roll.
That's right, yeah. But yes, I do agree. It's nice to let people be aware, but it is an annual thing that happens for sure. And speaking of, we have another annual thing that happens every year in Mike's corner of the world.
Yeah, this is County Road Administration reports we have to turn in. This one we got in front of you is annual certification for 2024. And then the certification for expenditures for traffic control, law enforcement, and expenditures for fish passage barrier removal. What that is, the fish passage barrier removal is we have to report any funds that we spend outside of the right of way, in which case we don't. So it's zero, so that makes it easy. But all this gets e-signed now, and so the chair has to remember to, when you get the email, it's not fraudulent of any kind, it is really what we need to do, so.
Can't report it to fishing?
Right.
You can. Then Mike won't get his certificate of good practice anymore.
Right, and they can take
Right, I
the gas
believe
tax
that.
away,
There was one that came already.
things like that, so. Yeah. So, when I send all this in, I put it into their Smart Simple program. And then it kicks an email to you and to myself to sign most of these things.
Okay.
So,
It's kind of like smart.
You don't think it's smart or simple?
no, it's not. They put it out about 2 years before they should have. So they're still having problems with it, so.
Really?
Yeah.
Get after that crap board.
They're good people. It's just, their
Yeah.
programmer is having a little problem, so.
They are. It is fun to harass them though.
Yeah, it is.
Friendly harassment.
Yeah.
All right, and then next item, commissioners, is an update to the Public Works road policies. So there's a WAC and an RCW that tells us again, kind of standards of good practice and things that we need to have to run the department in an awesome way. And we did already make some revisions to the road standards and survey monumentation. So those are 2 of the 5 items. The other 3 are organization, complaint handling, and doing work for others outside of the department. So that may be an example would be with our fire departments or working for the city or even another fund within the county. So just doing that business. So we took a look at some of our older policies, and they've been around since the beginning of time. Kelly was taking a look at the establishment of the department, and it was great to look at the original job descriptions in there, and it's like, wow, that's a cool job. That sounds interesting. So a lot of it is just cleanup. There's probably some things that still require some additional cleanup. We did route this to HR. There may be some other internal review that needs to happen. We're not asking at this time that this be taken for action before the board at the next meeting, but because we're still needing to hear back from some internal review. But did want to share that with you and make sure that we're on the track that is consistent with your expectations about how we're organized, how we're responding to complaints or concerns within the department, and all those fun things. And of course, our work for others.
And these all are part of the report to County Road Administration to have required these. So this all got to get in by April 1st.
It does. We have policies in place, so they're not gonna crack the whip on us, but we want to freshen them up and make sure that they're not 1977 era. Yeah. Any thoughts or comments or one way or the other?
No.
Okay.
No, good job.
All right. Yeah, in terms of Commissioner Netherland forwarded some information this weekend. We often get calls from citizens about how do I report a concern or a problem, and even with the web updates, sometimes it can be difficult to navigate, and what numbers do we call, all those things. So it's always a good reminder for us how, pretend we're a citizen. How do we get to you? How do we get a response, and a timely response? So definitely always appreciate that feedback about I had trouble navigating. So, all right. Anything else?
That's
Mike?
what disappeared that we can't find.
I know.
I still can't find it. How'd that happen? I don't.
We're having trouble navigating. Yeah, it's completely strange.
Yeah, if we discussed that a little bit earlier this morning, if we can't get a hold of any Public Works employees, call 911, they get a hold of us. We have a call-out phone, and it's manned 24/7, so they will get a hold of us, and we can respond to whatever needs to be.
Yeah.
But it'd still be nice if there was a place where they could leave a message.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice if we had a place on the website, on that front page, that they can drop a line. That may cut down a lot of my calls and stuff, to be honest with you.
And actually I'm sorry to interrupt, go ahead.
No, that's all I have.
On the county's webpage, right at the very top, actually any of the pages, at the very top where it says contact us, and if you click on that little, somewhere up there, contact us button, it goes right to an email page, and then there's a drop-down menu for whatever department you want to contact. Or sometimes you just don't know. I don't know who should handle this. And you can pick that and then fill in your contact information and what the issue is that you're wanting to talk about.
Yeah, no, this is great.
Yeah, and then, so we've got that on the main county webpage, and then on Public Works' page, on the left column about middle, same thing. It says report a problem. It goes to that same form. And then on the TIPCAPS advisory board page, it says, it's got a similar form, like, hey, I see an issue, or I want a project. Same deal. You can fill out a form there, and that one will be routed to us, and then we share that with TIPCAP. So there's 3 different email ways that they can get a hold of. And like Mike said, especially on the weekend, if it is an emergency or even a non-emergency, we often get reports like, hey, there's a stop sign down. That's super important that we know that right away. And if a citizen's the first one to see that, absolutely give MaceCom a call, and they will get the info to us promptly.
Yeah, they'll tell us just about anything.
Yeah, yes, they do. Emergency and non-emergency sometimes.
They'll wake you up and say, hey, this is not an emergency, but.
Right.
However, you might want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loretta, I sent it to your text. That's why.
Okay.
It took me all this time to figure it out too. I was checking everything I could think of, and I sent it by text is why.
Great, yeah, well, it disappeared off my text. for
Oh, if
some
your text was,
reason.
okay, well, that I can resend.
Okay,
I couldn't
great.
find it in my
Thank you, appreciate it. All right, enough said about that business? Sharon's
It's just
giving me
good
the eye
to-
approval.
It's just good to know that we've got steps in place.
Yes.
For, you wanna talk to us, talk to us.
Yep, emergency, non-emergency, yeah, all those good things. All right, now we have an update on our excavator purchase that Kevin's here to share. And,
Do we have it?
We do not have it yet, hopefully soon. So on February 4th, I came down and gave you guys the info on our new excavator that we were gonna trade in. Unfortunately, right after that, the boom broke on our excavator. So we did fix it in-house with our shop, and they did a good job on fixing it and fixed it the right way, but it did bring in the trade-in value down. So it went
How
from
much?
50,000 to 35,000. So we're recommending that we just keep that machine as a backup and just fix a few things that are on it to keep it going. And then hopefully you could get approval to purchase the same machine that we have, but now the total for the new machine would be $281,332.48.
I love the redundancy, I always have, I think it's a smart move, I'm supportive.
That's an additional 50,000.
Out of the solid waste fund.
yes.
Which
Yeah.
is solvent.
Yep. Yeah, we do have the funds to do that, and at this point, it's everyone's recommendation. It just makes better sense to keep it at this point, so.
Yeah, they can't stop moving.
No.
And eventually you're gonna have to have multiple machines or a different process because it's gotta expand.
Right.
It's growing.
It has to
So,
expand. We have no
Yes,
choice.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
More
Kevin-
people, more trash.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
mean.
Wait a minute.
And Kevin and his crew do a good
There's
job.
nothing you can say after that, just let that one go.
They keep that equipment hustling
Yeah.
all the time. Okay, next up, thank you, great job. And thanks to our mechanics also, they did a fantastic
Oh, yeah, they did a
repair.
great job. They did a good job
Yeah,
fixing it. And it was fixed the
absolutely.
correct way,
Yeah.
but it still brought that down just a little bit.
Yeah.
I
That's
think
okay
it looks
because
stronger after the repair
Uh-huh.
than it was beforehand.
Yeah.
You should have bumped the price,
the
So we were
value
shooting for
up.
too, like, oh, maybe we'll get some more. We made it stronger, but no.
No.
A little bit
Just
of
go back
game
to car,
plan
find
there.
Right.
So next up, a discussion item, just to share with you. We have our local solid waste grant agreement that is something that happens every 2 years. And one of the tasks is to provide moderate risk waste or the household hazardous waste funding for that, to be able to dispose of our moderate risk waste. And we underspent that last year, and this year we're moving that task, the dollars in that task, to our recycling task item, so we can fully utilize the grant. So kudos to Kevin and Michelle and getting that going. Just wanted to share with you that that is happening. And also that at the same time, Ecology was able to say, hey, can you put some other money to use? Somebody underspent, and so we captured another $4,600, Kevin, I think, roughly. So every little bit helps. So that's exciting. And then I don't know if Stephanie's on right now. Steph, are you there?
I'm here.
Great. If you could jump in and talk about reinstating our late fees and all of that good stuff.
Absolutely. So with the code updates, we were looking at some of the things, making sure that we were following the new codes and see what was different from previous code. And one of the things that we noticed is that the late fees had been stopped during COVID. And so we were looking at reinstating the late fees and
I'm supportive.
disconnect charges.
Yeah, no, I think it's great.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so,
You got three in here.
I apologize, what was that, Randy?
You got three in here.
Three supporting.
Three supported it. You're ready to get going with that. If you need to bring a document forward, if not, get down with your bad self.
Nope, the code's already been approved, we just needed to make sure we had the thumbs up to go ahead and get that process started back up.
Yeah, just
Perfect.
an
Thank you.
alert, so if and when it comes and people say, you haven't been doing this for the last 3 years.
Yeah,
then-
we know.
Yeah. All right. And then if I could do one other quickie before we jump into the ILA agreement. We just received an email from the Association of Counties about House Bill 1098. And that is a bill that would create a new fund to be able to receive monies from somewhere, yet to be determined, to be able to pay for work on local access roads. So, perfect example, Timberlake's
Yeah.
local access road.
Yeah.
We have half of our road network is a local access road. And anything we do on that basically is done with our general fund, excuse me, our property taxes.
Yeah.
Not eligible otherwise. So it's a call for an email support from commissioners to move that to the floor
It's interesting.
and support that bill.
Well, it looks like it passed overwhelmingly, so it is in rules, but it's placed on second reading.
Yes.
That's good.
Yep.
Before you move on to anything else, I want to get you while you're
Oh,
here.
right, real
Go
quick.
ahead.
So do you want us to send a note to the Rules Committee, just to make sure that it's,
Yes, and I do have a sample template that Axel had forwarded to us. And we can certainly, if you want to provide a couple sentences about specifics to Mason County, happy to do that as well.
I think that would be great, because we do have some folks on the Rules Committee that like to know what's happening locally.
Mhm. Okay,
Yeah.
all
I don't
right.
see it on their calendar for today, though.
Now, I think Wednesday is what they were
Thinking.
targeting or
Okay.
thinking, yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So, I get calls regularly about this, but I had one by a very elderly lady who, we've never discussed it as a commission. I'd like to see what options there are. We made it mandatory that, they get recycling twice a month. What does that look like? Is there ways around that? Is there carve-ins we can have for seniors? Because they don't want to do it, they don't want to pay for it, because they don't even have the ability to fill up one. So eventually I'd like to have that conversation and see what that looks like not to do it, not to force it.
Are they in the city limits or on the outside?
No, outside.
Because I believe recycling is free anyways. It comes with your garbage. You get your recycling cans free, so they're not actually paying for that.
I think I pay as well.
Do you? Okay, I'll have to talk with Chad then and see what some options would be.
I think it's like $11 or something like that, but.
Maybe maybe it's the city that I'm thinking about then. that
Yeah,
doesn't
can you please look into that
Yeah,
and see what it is?
absolutely.
And while you're doing it, see if we're even actually recycling. There was a time where we went through this and nobody else was saying they were recycling, but we checked with ours, that's back in the day when we had Republic, and it was part of our contract that they had to, so they were sending it out, and it costs a little more money for them to do it. Let's find out what we're doing now and make sure, because if we're not, then
We do. We receive reports on a monthly basis about where the recycling goes and how much and what the quantities are and all those fun things. Lots of great statistics that way.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily all commodities, though.
yeah. Well, for the longest time, they wouldn't take glass at all, they probably still
Right,
don't. There's
right.
other stuff that they just don't, maybe we need to relook at what that looks like.
Yeah. We've got a tour scheduled, right, of the
I don't
MRF coming
have
up
the
or
dates totally set
planning
yet.
to?
Yeah, we've got it
Okay.
planned.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I had on that.
Okay, great. All right, anything else, commissioners, before we don't jump into the ILA discussion?
Nope.
Nope.
All righty.
All right now, Aaron.
Okay. So where we left off, we briefed this, gosh, a couple of weeks ago, I believe, and Commissioner Netherland asked that we take the draft that we had with a summary of comments and put that into the next version of a draft. Sent that out to all commissioners, and then we're able to meet with Commissioner Netherland, and thank you very much. Had lots of great input and comments on that. Discussed the pros and cons of serving the Bremerton PSIC area, and then had very specific comments on various sections of the document. We also received notification or an email from Bremerton that they have their general sewer plan draft out and available. And so a section of that has an appendix that's specific to options for serving the Puget Sound Industrial Center area, which is just north of Mason County and Belfair. And so they had 3 different options that they had presented, and the recommended option was kind of a phased approach as we understand it. We still need to talk with Bremerton about a little bit more detail to make sure we understand what the draft's saying. But bottom line, it talks about a first phase that would be served by Mason County, and it's consistent with that 160,000 gallons per day request that we had from the mayor. And then after that time, it looks at future growth within the Puget Sound Industrial Center area being served by Bremerton's own system. And what we're not really sure about is whether that means the initial 160,000 should we serve stays with Mason County, or that then goes also to Bremerton at some point in the future. So that came out, and then we also had the report from KEDA that was talking about growth, economic growth, not environmental growth, economic growth within the industrial areas for Kitsap. And so that has a little bit of information about what are potential barriers to growth, and in particular infrastructure, whether it be roads, power, water, sewer. And that, I know, has been a topic of interest for all commissioners about if we serve, are there other things that may hinder growth within PSIC, and what does that look like, and what might we expect, I guess, growth-wise in that area. So I know it's a lot of reading, and I apologize for flooding with lots of information, but they're all tidbits, I think, to help to wrap our heads around what are the pros and cons, and what might we need to be considering when it comes to serving or not serving. So that's a long-winded thing. Mark, anything to add to my long-winded thing?
No, I thought you summarized it well. Yeah, we received a letter from the mayor back in September of 2024 requesting the service for 160,000 gallons a day. Part of the letter proposed that we meet as a group with technical staff to conduct a joint planning meeting and answer any questions that or concerns that might be out there. And I don't think that we've had that joint elected official technical meeting. I know that the city of Bremerton had reached out to tribes, all the tribes that were potentially impacted, and I think they got some information back from them. I know that we, Mason County, have received a couple of requests. I believe that the Suquamish actually requested to meet with Commissioner Trask. Not sure if that ever went through. I think they had to cancel last minute. And then the commissioner has, all 3 commissioners have a joint meeting with the Squaxin tribe coming up on the 21st of March. And so those things are continuing to go in the background and having those discussions. But we, as staff, wanted to come before the commission and see how would you guys like to move forward on this. So I personally believe that there are a lot of questions associated with what does it look like if we provide service to this area in the future, and what is, I would love to sit down with Bremerton administration and ask them what their plan was, right? Is it just serve us until we get our systems up and running, and then we'll go ahead and take that and you guys can go back to having your capacity, or what does guaranteed 160,000 look like, right? I do know that from where we are at with our Belfair sewer system, we are approaching the number of connections and the amount of flow that's going to require us to start to look at how do we expand certain pieces of our plant. I think that the plant and most of the infrastructure was built based on 1 million gallons a day. I think we're right about 78,000 gallons a day right now, so quite a bit less. There's questions about where do we want to serve sewer in Belfair in the future. I need to hear that from you all. What do you want to keep in terms of areas that you'd like to serve?
I'd like to remind you, phase 3 is exactly what Mayor Wheeler said to us when we went on a tour with him there. He told us that was the plan. So there's no difference. Phase 3 was when they get big enough, they do their own. That was what he said it. So it's no surprise to me that that's where we're at today, because that's, sometimes they tell you what they're gonna do, and they told us.
Yeah, I think I read through a couple of different things. So you've got your EDC, and then you've got the City of Bremerton. And then I think I also looked at the KidSAP plan, and each one varies.
Slightly different.
Yeah, and that's concerning to me. And one was, I think, gallons per minute, and then we have gallons per day. So I think, I'd like clarification on that also.
Well, gallons per minute would have to do with the size of the pipe.
Yeah.
Gallons per day is the capacity of the whole system.
But in the item, or the things that I read, it was not, they didn't tie together.
I would love to eventually, before we ever really do much else, actually have a conversation amongst us of why. And so you could hear, let's please remember that although you guys know where I stand on things on it, you don't maybe know why. I am the commissioner for that area. I do understand that sewer as good or better than anybody, because I have more than 13 years. I was dealing with that sewer for several years beforehand, put together the plan to get us out of debt. But every aspect of it I was involved with, but I'm still involved with the community and know the different aspects and the dangers that it has, and recognize that. And it'd be nice if sometime we had that discussion beforehand. But now, one of the things that I would like to point out is no matter what we do, because I know there's concern about being able to get the money. I understand that. I don't short the possible need for it. But one of the things to look at is, are we even needing to do all this, or should we be looking at specifically what it takes to get the money so we can get the information? Absent spreadsheets and numbers, that's always a mistake. There's no way around that. Can I be convinced otherwise? I don't know. You show me the numbers and show me where it's profitable, to the county especially, where some of the risks that I worry about don't exist, then I've been known to switch before, right in the middle of things, if you can convince me. So eventually I'd love for us to have a conversation, but at the same time, I'd love for us, if we're going to focus on anything, focus on what exactly it takes to get the money, because they're utilizing this to get the whole enchilada in order for us to get the money. And I don't think that that's necessary, but it's smart on their part. But I don't think that that's what we have to do in order to do it, to meet the requirement of commerce.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that that's been my goal from day one, is we can use that money that we get from them to help us grow, and it helps Mason County if we can get that money. And I think that that's been my goal from day one, just to make sure that we're gonna have to spend the money one way or the other,
One way or the
because we're growing, and we have to be able to plan for that, so that money's gonna have to either come from them or from our budget. The ILA, I know I worked for quite a while, we worked for quite a while on it, trying to make it so that that it protects Mason County. Personally, that's what I wanna do. I wanna make sure that as a commission that represents the entire county, as do you. So we have to make sure that the decisions we make going forward benefits the entire county, not just one district, the entire county. And so it is, and I know you've been working on this for 13 years, and I respect that. But I think we all have the same goal in mind. None of us want to hurt Mason County.
And I, as you know, I love the whole county too. It's not, if anything, that's one of the worries, is that it's a small shot in the arm for one district, but it hurt the whole county in the long run because of sales tax and stuff like that. With myself, again, that's why I'd like to eventually for us to actually have a workshop where we sit down and talk about the things that we see, because we do see things. For example, yes, I understand and believe that we are going to be in need of money to look at some of these options to move forward. We can always go back to the past and say if we had taken the 2.5 million instead of the extension and went and put it towards the planning, but that's all gone. So now we need to make the most of what we have. One of the things we can do is put a special fee on the area that we spent $5 million to go all the way out and recoup some of that money for the design. We have a couple $1 million in the bank for design and stuff now. It'd be wise for us to recoup some of that. There's just different options we can all talk about. We're not at the point to make decisions, but absent a roundtable discussion of the things that we know and the things that we've learned, we may never get there.
My comment has more to do with just reading over the ILA, It seems pretty one-sided, or at least it was written from, whenever I've been involved in contracts, I always want my team to write the contract, and we negotiate from my position down.
I'm sorry, I said exactly.
This is written from their perspective, and we're trying to fix it from our perspective. That's just as I got it, was I reading over it, it's just like, wait, there's things that, there's comments on the side here that, well, we should be mutually indemnifying each other. They didn't do that, so,
Yeah.
I mean, that to me is like a red flag. It's like, wait a minute, so you have to pore over this. So that's all I can say, is I just keep looking for those little gotchas.
Mm-hmm. Well, we own it.
Right,
So-
but this
Mhm.
this is not our
Mm-mm.
ILA.
Mm-mm.
And that's where, that's the feeling I get as I read this. It's like, wait, it's our facility. We should be writing the ILA. I mean, it should come from, first it protects us, and then it services them. If that's the approach I would take to it. So I keep poring over it. I like some of the comments, some of them, I think, that's easy to fix, but we shouldn't be having to fix those. They should be trying to fix ours, where they don't like the fact that we're getting the upper hand.
And Pat, it's funny because literally just the other day, I said, everything you just said, I actually damn near verbatim said the same
Yes.
thing. There's one story I shared with them that I'd like to share with you guys, just so you know. History again, before I was a commissioner, back in the creation of the Growth Management Act, Mason County held on. Could you imagine how much different our life would have been if we didn't jump into the Growth Management Act? We were one of the last counties to do it. The reason why we did it is interesting. They offered us $45,000 back then, and our commissioners thought, hey, we need the money, we could use for this and this. But in the long run, was it the best thing we could have done? Sometimes getting the money isn't. And that, I just wanted to share that story because I sure like heck wish they'd have never gone for that $45,000.
it's in the past and we need to make sure that we're protecting our future.
And that's why I bring up what I do. I'm very comfortable with the stuff that I'm hearing, just so you guys know, from both of you, and I really am. I feel like we're actually pretty close to saying the same type of thing, because even if it happens, all the concerns you just mentioned, Pat, that's what I'm looking at. And I know from what you put into the contract, you and I are sharing some of the same worries and stuff. That's why I asked for a little bit of time. When I read it, I was like, wait a minute, that's what I saw missing.
Right.
You know, ways out and stuff like that. You gotta have all that stuff in order to protect us first.
Yeah, there's things like remedies. Item 6, city responsibilities. A, to aid the county in ensuring there's available capacity, the city will notify us of any pending new developments that will increase the flow in excess of 160,000 gallons per day. Well, okay, what's the remedies? Because I thought the whole agreement was limited at 160,000 gallons a day. So all of a sudden, wait, we're gonna go over it? I mean, it's like the first line. Hang on a second, this.
And there were things that I caught was putting forward was the idea of we don't have our remedies for ourselves also to, if something happens, something breaks, who's responsible and who's gonna pay for it? We didn't have that in there. How would we get that money? How would we structure it? What happens if we ran to the point where we needed our capacity? Are we stuck for that forever? They're not buying it, and if they are, if they want the capacity, shouldn't they buy it? How much should that be? We don't have any of the spreadsheets to show us any of that, and absent of that, but then again, I don't wanna beat our staff up, because the truth of the matter is, that's what that money would go to, would be to get us the information to help us make a decision on whether or not we should service them. Because absent.
Because that's what this is.
Yeah, but we've jumped to the front of providing service forever here in order to get the 1.3, and that's why the story of the 45 came up.
The other part is the quality of what is coming our way. If we're having to deal with the wrong type of sewage or something that's going to damage our system, what are the remedies? What, you know, we're gonna have to monitor what's coming our way, and if that's not, if it's gonna damage our system, what are they gonna pay to fix that? Sure, they'd have to stop it, but, you know, I don't know enough about the
How do you address
process.
the damage done?
But
And then-
how do we protect our system? If they're, you know, it's an industrial complex, let's say that you have somebody that starts doing gold plating and they're flushing sodium cyanide down that thing. I think we got a problem. Well.
And can we protect it to keep it industrial, because that commercial would just tear us up, because there's nothing else there. There's no population. Anything with the 20,000 that goes and supports Belfast, that supports us with our budget as it is, if you put something there, there's nowhere else for them to go. It's our people. It's our customer. They won't buy that hammer if they buy it just on top of the hill. They won't buy it down below. Why would they? And we lose all of it.
So just to go a little bit further on that, Commissioner Netherland, so having language in there that says that, you know, the intent is for industrial development. If in fact the city of Bremerton allowed commercial development to occur within the area, then there would have to be some type of remedy, as Pat's talking about, in terms of mitigating the impacts that might have on Mason County, right?
Well, I actually like his word remedy, because even though I don't like it, and I don't want it, but what if it was a 2 cents sales tax that comes back this way? Well, then I gotta kind of step back a little bit. I don't want to compete with our own selves down below, because I don't want it to happen like Shelton did when they did Walmart. But at the same time, that's a remedy that we've never discussed it. I've never discussed it. I know that when me and Mark talked about sewering other, like a tribe or whatever, we talked about a sales tax that goes onto that, or some type of tax. But maybe there is a possibility of a remedy or a restriction that it can't happen. One of the things about a city, as you've seen, they can change their stuff so quick that we can't compete. We can't, so if we set up something that we can't even compete with, that doesn't make sense for us. Their height limits and stuff like that they can do, we can't compete with any of that. But my biggest concern, as I've told Loretta, was more the retail and everything else. Even though I think it would be wiser for us to have the only game in town if the other commissioners decided it was gonna go somewhere else. Am I as much worried about housing and industrial? Not as much for the impact to our budget and everything else for the whole county. I'd rather not have that competition direct, but if it was, that made a little more sense to me. And I did try to give options to try and find ways to, if it was to happen, to get it done. Because even though I get mad, I do everything else, when the time comes, even when I lose, Pat, there's one thing you don't know about me, there's every single time I've lost a vote, every single time, I sign. I have never once not signed, even when I lose, because you win them and you lose them. But when it's all over, said and done with, we're a family and we're gonna be responsible for those decisions. They set us up for 3. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and I deal with it.
Commissioner Trask, you also made a comment about other stakeholders and your point about changing zoning or changing use. Mark and I were talking on Friday about the fact that this is a MIC also, or a manufacturing industrial center that Puget Sound Regional Council has interest in and overseeing, and so there's also a Kitsap County as well interest, and so we have our own internal things to hash through, but there's also other eyes and stakeholders that are interested in what's going on.
Right, the Kitsap County Commissioners, a couple of them came up to me and said, what the heck is this? So they had no clue about what was going on too, so, you know.
So there's that piece that we need to
brought
work
up
through.
Oren back at the NEO conference, and he said, well, I don't know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. It's his district. And
Yeah.
It's like, well, I thought you might.
So one of the things to keep in mind, if we refocus on what it would take to get that money, instead of all this other stuff that we're doing, then maybe we find a way to do it without the long-term contract, because I don't think that it's appropriate. We need that information to do the contract.
Is Commerce requiring that?
They have, and Bremerton has also expressed that, both, because.
Commerce is the one that's giving us the money, or has the money, they hold the purse. And so I want to comply with what Commerce is requesting.
Yes.
I mean, I wanna be a good neighbor, but it's Commerce ultimately that has the final say, or that says, here's your go-ahead. So whatever they're requesting, if there's no ILA that's required, then, you've probably answered that in the past, because that's been one of my questions too. What is Commerce actually wanting from us for us to get that money?
My understanding is a commitment to serve. And whether that means there's an ILA attached to that, or just a commitment saying, yes, we will serve up to 160,000, and the ILA can follow, that's something we need to find out from Commerce.
And we gotta think outside the box on this stuff. Every time you go in with a perceived perception like that, you're never gonna win it. You have to go in with what can we do, what will they accept? As you're saying, and to what Pat was saying, they don't have it over us, it's ours. And you said the same thing. We can't let them keep putting it over the top of us. I wanna remind us of one other thing. The 1.3+ million is for us to see what we do to work with them, to provide theirs. We will try to hijack some of that money for our own purposes of doing it, but that, they have a reason they're giving it to us, and they expect us to be able to do it. And that's gonna siphon off a lot of that money, so it's not like we just get to work with the money and just do what we need to do. There's gonna be restrictions, so.
Yeah, the award was made to Bremerton, so there's that.
All right, I do have a copy of the capital request.
Yes, yep. I guess the easiest way to deal with that is simply get Commerce at the table and
I think that's
talk
a great
with
idea.
them directly about
great idea.
what form might this take that would be satisfactory to Commerce. And then there's a separate issue of what Bremerton right, is going to be comfortable with as
Because
well.
ultimately, they were the requester.
Absolutely.
But
Yep.
express
And
our-
the recipient.
And the recipient.
But express our reluctance to enter into some lifelong contract of marriage forever when this is gonna help us.
When there's a lot to be,
This is what
yeah.
the money's for, is to show us what it actually is.
Yep.
As you know, I had the same problem when we were doing the extension and everything else. I just want data.
Yeah.
I want real data. And I said that when we were in the room, I want the actual data. We refer to a lot of things. We make a lot of things that we believe is gonna happen. Well, show me. The good words are great, but I need the numbers. I've always been a data-driven person.
So, yeah, I think we all agree that we could, if these funds were awarded to Mason County, we could utilize the 1.4 million to actually come up with more specific details associated within a final ILA with
Yeah.
Bremerton.
What would it look like?
Correct. I think that what we need to be able to convince Commerce of is that Mason County Commissioners are willing to provide service to. I don't know that there's a specific flow rate that's required.
I didn't see that in
It
the-
just said provide service to the southern portion of PSIC. So,
But again, for 1.39 or 1.4 million, it has to be financially feasible. It has to be economically good for our county. In order for them to get that, you ask the question you asked, you're gonna get a statement where it has to be an ILA and stuff like that, because that's the way you just asked the question. We don't know that we can do an ILA with them on it. Can we afford it? Can we? We won't know that without the numbers. So we gotta express to them that in order to get there, we need this money to be able to see and to justify. That's what the money is for. We're not building anything.
Yeah, so from Commerce's, I'm just gonna put a Commerce hat on real quick here. They may be saying, okay, well, we're gonna send $3 million to Bremerton, 1.6, so Bremerton can design a system north of the county line, and then 1.4 to you, Mason County, to design upgrades south of the line that are needed, whether we serve Bremerton or not.
That's correct.
You know, just keep that in mind,
And
one
I'm
way or
not
the
gonna stand
other.
against that. Why would I stand against that?
But Commerce will say, if the end product may be, it doesn't pencil out. Commissioners, you've decided there's no way to mitigate, remedy financial impacts. You continue to have concerns, and the answer is, sorry, after we've got these facts, we're done. We don't think it makes sense to serve. I don't know that Commerce will offer that up to say that that could be an end product.
So is this it's reimbursement?
Correct.
Correct? So we
Yeah.
have to incur the cost first?
Yes.
And then they reimburse?
Yes.
So let's keep that in mind too.
That is a good point, because we have to
Yeah,
make sure.
so if a first
that
phase might be,
we may have
to
our
do-
desire to see costs for our spray field for us, stuff like that. If they don't accept that, it's still on our dime.
yeah, I think I think there's a number of things, right, in terms
then
of the
to-
pathway for the pipe, the expansion or alternatives for handling, our additional reclaimed water, and how that's done, right? So, being able to address the concerns that we might hear from our neighbors at the Squaxin tribe that are concerned about chemicals coming from Bremerton area and then being introduced into Coulter Creek area. And so, yeah, there's a lot of those questions out there that we would need this money in order to define or determine how we would design and accommodate those.
And they're two different water basins too, right?
Yes.
Excuse me?
Two different water basins.
Two different waters.
at least.
But if we don't ask, the answer is no, so let's ask Commerce. Let's allow her to move forward and ask Commerce and see.
So what I hear from you guys today is that, yes, you want us to continue to work on something, maybe approaching Commerce and saying, we need this money in order to actually determine the specifics associated with the development of an interlocal agreement. would it be safe to say that Mason County Commissioners are willing to serve Southern Peaceak?
Not without the numbers, but if it's financially feasible, again, that's the main thing. Is it financially feasible for the county and everything else? We have to make that determination. But how do you say now, you will? Because I just don't want to lie and commit, and, because that's worse than anything we could do.
Right, I think that's why I didn't want the words shall in anywhere in the ILA. Because then it's a commitment for not only us, but also for Bremerton. Maybe Bremerton can't satisfy that shall either, so then the ILA is just a piece of paper.
Well, and that word shall, and what Pat was saying is exactly how I felt about it when I'm reading it. Everything was against us and we have to perform. And it's like, wait a minute, who's representing us in this deal? That was actually what I said. Somebody's got to represent us in the contract. And I actually like the idea of taking it all up and writing our own eventually to do it. And that's probably how it should have been in the first. But before we could do that, what do we need? Numbers. We need information. We need real, tangible, usable numbers, costs.
Well, I'd like to see what Commerce requires. If they require an ILA, then let's work on the ILA. If they don't require an ILA, just nothing is a handshake anymore. But if it's...
Or a letter saying commitment to serve, whatever that may look like.
Right, yeah, find out from them, I would.
And back to the ILA, Ned's got a comment in here which is very appropriate. When we talked about, we don't want to be watching what, oh, you've got another hookup, okay, well, that's another thing. No, there's going to be so much flow coming in, that's what we're going to charge for. We don't want to monitor what they're doing up there. It's their responsibility. If somebody's not paying, they still owe us the money.
Regardless.
Yeah.
That can't fall on us, so,
I got chemo, so I'm just biding my time. Did you get what you need?
I think so. So I'm hearing engage commerce. We'll need to, also interest in revamp, and I can certainly work on an ILA simply from a Mason County perspective, and get going on that pending, well, can do that regardless. If Commerce says one way or the other, well, it won't be work wasted. Also interest in a workshop, which would probably be after an ILA is crafted and you all have something to look in front of you, and then use that as the discussion point at a workshop.
Crafted but not agreed upon.
Yes.
No, workshop with who, with us? Or
You, yes.
So with us, we don't even
Commission.
have to even get to that point. But if we get enough information, we can have the conversation we should about some of the reasons why we feel it, how to justify it or not justify it. But the one with the city, we should have something, if we're gonna do something with the city, we should have something that we're
Yes.
talking about, because that makes no sense not to.
Well, it might be nice too, for the city to meet us and for us to meet them too, so.
To me,
I
that would-
don't think that I've met
Yeah.
anybody that's been on the signature line.
Yep. Yeah, and to me, it would be helpful for that to happen first before any further work on, because we're,
Except I'd really like
Kinda-
to get a hold of Commerce first.
oh, yes, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, yes, absolutely happy to do that.
Okay.
But if we're second guessing, I guess, city perspectives and comments, it'd be nice for you to have that dialogue first, and then we
I
can
think
go back and.
their wastewater plan was, the draft is out now and it's due in June or April.
I believe comment deadline was the end of this month. I'd have to go back and
Yeah,
look, but
maybe it was
I
April
think it
then.
was open for about a 1-month period.
Because they have to have this in their comprehensive plan in order to actually do the work, right?
And as
So-
do we.
Oh, absolutely.
If we're
Correct.
changing hours, we have to have that in our comp plan.
Correct.
Please don't come at Commerce of, do we have to have an ILA? If you do that, you're gonna fail us.
Right, right.
Go at Commerce, what does it take just to get this done, so we can get the money to figure out if we can do an
Yes.
ILA? If you go at it the other way, and I will assure you, for those that are watching this show right now, we'll be calling down there to put pressure on them before you ever get to them.
So you gotta keep that in mind and work accordingly with what the commission is asking you to, we're trying to find that answer.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
Anything else?
To answer your question more specifically, yeah, if it works out where this is a benefit to Mason County, yes, I'm interested in pursuing it, but I want to make sure that we're protected.
Good.
That's- Just to give you a specific answer to
Thank
the
you.
question you
Yeah, well, that makes me feel better that, continuing to do the research and continuing to do the work isn't, a waste of time and energy.
But it's got to benefit Mason County.
Mason County.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
I think
three of
all
us
three of
agree
us
on
think
that,
that.
we're real
Okay.
clear.
Yep.
And you know what would be nice, is if you actually could show that on paper.
Yep. Kind of hard to do though.
No, but that's,
predicting-
other
Here's
than
the
that-
part that makes it difficult for me, just thinking out loud, Randy, is that it's all based on speculation, right? So, how do I,
But even speculation that is based on your knowledge is better than nothing. Right now, we're basing our speculation on whatever statement was in that. By working together, we can save costs. No, that doesn't mean nothing. How do we save costs? Where are the costs possibly saved? That's,
I think reality is by providing sewer to the southern portion of PSIC allows industrial development to occur within Bremerton, right? So Bremerton actually benefits from that because
allows
they actually get,
it allows development to occur. Not, we keep using that name, that's not exactly true. It can be changed. I want to remind you, there are how many pads that are ready to go for industrial already at the port? That's not what they want it for. They want it for the flexibility to do whatever they need to do in the city. There are pads available, tons of them. But that's not what we're talking about here.
But that's the port, that's different than the city.
Yeah, but it's just, I can throw a rock and hit it from the city. Literally, so it is a lot the same. So let's be realistic of what the possibilities they want to use it for.
But the port is in the city.
Actually,
No, it's a separate,
is it, but he's right
it's
too.
like our
It
port,
is.
Port of
Yeah.
Shelton is still in the Port of Shelton, or it's in Shelton, but it's still separate.
Yes, it's a separate governmental entity, but it is in the city.
Located within the
Yeah.
city.
And they benefit in different ways and stuff, just like we do off of the port.
All right, and I'm sorry, Commissioners, I should have sent apologies from Richard right at the very beginning. As you know, he would always be here for these great discussions, and his expertise is much appreciated.
Yeah, we had-
He's out
we had our
sick today.
expert.
He's out sick today.
Dude, your smile, it warms the room, it does every time, I'm telling you. My friend over here, come on.
Mike's got a warm and fuzzy
He
smile. Come on,
just don't like
Mike.
to use it unless, even when you compliment him, he gets this little half a smile going. He doesn't like to show his cards.
No way, that's usually when he frowns.
You're so much like my brother. That's scary.
Sounds like you want a feasibility study.
Yes. That's better word than all of it. A real feasibility study.
That sounds like we're hashing the same things over and over and over. Gotta get you out of here.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
sounds good?
All right, thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
thank you guys
Commissioners.
very much.
All right, Commissioners, we are down to Commissioner discussion. Do we have anything to discuss?
I covered my calendar and everything, didn't I?
You did.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to entertain a motion?
Yes, please.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, guys.
Good meeting, guys. Very good meeting.